Welcome to Beyt Kol, Israel. Our Torah portion this week is called Naso, which means to elevate. It's also the base of for many other words, like when it calls Yehovah Nisei, he's Yehovah our banner, but he's also the one that was lifted up for us. So those two words are tied together like that. Also, as a reminder, we will also have a service tomorrow because tomorrow is Shavuot, a Feast of Weeks. Um, I know the people who follow the rabbinical calendar had it during the middle of the week last week, and that's wrong. Because the counting in the Torah itself says you shall count 7 Sabbaths, and the next day after 7 Sabbaths is always going to be the first day of the week. So we followed the way the Torah does it, and a lot of other people do, but on the rabbinical side, they don't do that because they start counting after Passover. So Naso means to elevate. This is also when the Aaronic blessing is given. Yes. 2 days. Yes. I don't know. I think some of that has to do with people in the land and not in the land. Some of these feasts, they double them up that way. I haven't done a lot of study on that. Um, rabbis and priests, on the Christian side, they both do the same thing. They take the word of God and alter it. Change the way that, Christians do Easter, which is based on pagan festivals and the new, first Sunday after the, so many days, 50 days after the first full moon or whatever, Pentecost. It's right means 50, Pentecost, counting to 50, but Shavuot is what is in the Bible. And this is when the Torah is given. This is when the Noah's Ark landed. It's also a picture of the wedding feast because our Torah scroll, that's when the Torah was given from Mount Sinai or reintroduced because it always existed. So this is our wedding document. And the upper room, yeah. Yeah. At Pentecost, because remember years ago when they were in the wilderness and they had just come out of Egypt, they'd been at Mount Sinai for a while. And when the Torah was given, when 10 Commandments were given, Moses went up back onto the mountain to commune with God directly. And the people then had the golden calf. And they had an orgy. Let's be plain about that. Sex has always been the problem. In the garden, it was a problem. Given the Torah was a problem. When they were dealing with Balaam, that's when the Midianite women, they had an orgy with that. That's what Baal Peor means, the god of the openings. That's what the whole world's into. So when Moses and Joshua came down, Joshua said, I hear a party or war. What's going on down there? He said, look, it's not a party, it's not war. These people are fooling around. And that's when they ground up. Moses saw the golden calf. He ground it up, mixed it in the water, mixed some dirt from the base of Mount Sinai, and put that in water along with the scroll of the curse of the jealous husband, the test of the jealous husband. And all the bride, we are all the bride. We will drink this, by the way. Spiritually, we will drink this. And if we have no relationship with Messiah, that basically we're out. So those people that had messed around with the golden calf and participated in this orgy, 3,000 of them swelled up, their bellies swelled and their legs fell away, so they were laying on the ground, in agony. And that's when Moses said to the Levites who joined him, because that's what Levi means, to join, he says, put your sword on your side and kill whoever it is that you see. I don't care if it's your mother, brother, sister, best friend, whoever it is. Well, how'd they know who to kill? It's those people who had drank that testing water of the jealous husband, and they were laying on the ground. And at Pentecost, the Feast of Weeks, the people in the upper room had the Shekinah, the glory of God, looked like fire upon their heads. Well, those are the little mountains, the future kingdom, God and us and God. And then they started speaking in other languages. There's many kinds of tongues. There's godly tongues, which you have to have an interpreter. That's Corinthians chapter 13 and 14 talk about tongues a lot, and they really do explain. He explains it very well. If it's done in private, that's one thing. If it's done in public and it's angelic tongues, people call it that too. You have to have an interpreter, otherwise it's confusion. But then also there's tongues and languages, and people spoke in other languages. This is the same thing happened in the Azusa church years ago when the Pentecostal movement started. There's lots of people from all over the world. They still live in LA. It's just from all over. And people started speaking in tongues. Well, when they did this from the upper room, they came out and they said, I think they're drunk. I says, look, it's just in the morning. They're not drunk as you suppose. They're full of the Holy Spirit. And 3,000 people joined that day, and that replaced the 3,000 who had rejected God because they fooled around with the golden calf. So that's also a memorial of what's coming up tomorrow, these events.
It's an interesting type
And speak
of
up
shadow.
too.
It's an interesting type of shadow because that's a lot of time between Mount Sinai and the upper room.
Yes.
That's over 1,000 years.
And God works in threes.
So how many years is he waiting to do this? 7,000 years.
Yes,
waiting
to do it again. And all these feasts, they come back and are fulfilled completely at the end. Yes. And speak up so people can hear.
Yeah, something occurred to me on the way here today when I was hearing when I was listening to the part about like the ones who were defiled by a dead body, and he went and talked to the Lord about like what he would have them do, and they still wanted them to keep Passover.
They waited a month.
And it waited, I think, 14 days or something like that. And it makes me wonder if those who are in a partial blindness now, from made unclean by the dead body of Yeshua, if that's not like a picture of them coming back in after a period of time after they've become cleansed. With the association with
well, they have to. Yeah, Passover is now a month later. That's what it is. They celebrate Passover a month later. You're talking about that?
Yeah.
I think
it was,
if they're on a far journey,
days,
they're either just a month later. And so if they're unclean by touching a dead body, or they're far away,
journey.
it's a month away, right? Well, there's always this waiting period. Remember, it says in the Torah, it says after you conquer the land and you go up, because you're supposed to kill all the Canaanites, and you start expanding your territory, and you come upon a city and they surrender, and then you see among them a woman you would like to marry, not abuse, you want to marry, you bring her into your house, she changes her clothes, shaves all her hair off, and waits a month.
Yeah.
And then you marry her. So there's this cleansing period and an adjustment period, because when you first become a believer, it's a shock to the system. It really does take a while to start to reorient your whole life. I mean, years ago when I became a Seventh-day Adventist, it's my first time I ever took the dip. I was a very different person. One day, one person, and the next day was a very different person. And it takes a while to start adjusting. And then you become a Messianic believer, and now you're doing the feasts and Sabbath takes a while to adjust to. Your whole life in this world is so oriented to do everything Friday night through Saturday. So I used to mow the lawn on Saturdays. Now I'm headed out, here, and I hear all over the place, people mowing their lawns.
And to think of a day in biblical terms, like from sunset to sunset.
Yes.
Rather than midnight
to midnight, right? Because our day starts in darkness. And sometime later on in our life, toward the end of our life, we come into the light. God's glorious light. Light is Torah. So we get introduced to Torah. How are we going to react to this? And it's a continual change, because we're making mistakes. We're still making mistakes. Because we're not clear-headed anymore. And we also, like a computer with a virus, we have a messed up operating system. Paul talks about it very clearly. He says, the thing I want to do, I don't do that. And the thing I wanted, and the thing I don't want to do, that I do. But then he says, because I have a relationship with Messiah, this body which is in rebellion, it's the body is sinning, but the inside man is not. Now, it's still sin. I'm not saying he's not sinning, but he realizes there's this split.
So to break that down, so the sinful nature of us, even we have to ask for forgiveness of that sin, but the body is the sinful driver who is destroyed.
Yes.
And
that's why
he always talks about the spiritual man. The spiritual man,
that's Adam.
He makes a separation in his own body of the spiritual man.
Absolutely, because if you look what happened to Adam, he was a spiritual man. He was, when Messiah was resurrected, that's what Adam was. And Adam and Eve were still kind of like that before they sinned. They didn't have flesh. This is the skin that God didn't kill a lamb and put lambskin on him. We got this. Now, this is driven by hormones, senses, sensuality, a hunger. There's a drive. Your body tells you, I want this, I want this, I want this. Before that, Adam didn't have that. But when Messiah was resurrected, he could pass through a wall, or he could open the door if he wanted to. So that's what Adam was like. So when they sinned and got flesh, now all of a sudden the body was demanding stuff. That's why Peter, Paul, John, they all talk about we need to fast and pray. Fasting without prayer is just a diet. And what that does, it's like two power meters, power resistors. When you participate in the flesh, the spiritual side gets turned down. When you turn up the spirit side, the flesh gets turned down. So they work oppositely. So if you're worldly, the spiritual nature gets turned way down. And if you start to become more godly, the flesh has less influence in your life, but it will always have some, because we are in these bodies. And there is just no way around it. God gives us these tools. He reminds us prayer, fasting, and prayer is very good. That's what Messiah did the entire time he was here. Fasted every night. He fasted continually.
They were always telling him, you need to eat.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have bread you know not of.
Yes.
I have meat you know not of.
We actually don't know if he actually literally ate at all.
There's no indication he ever ate.
Well, I mean, he probably did.
I probably did. He had a body and he had to feed the body.
I mean, he was at meals. He definitely ate after he was resurrected.
Yeah, he was eating the fish.
But yeah, there
didn't
was
need it though.
No description of him eating.
I mean, he broke the bread and blessed the wine.
He ate the bread from the sop, I think. I don't know. He dipped it in the sop. I mean, but you know.
But he handed it. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
We can go down a rabbit hole there if you wanted to.
Yeah, and it's not a salvation issue. But we do know that every night he went up to the mountain and he fasted and prayed.
Yeah. But it's little wonder that we should go from understanding to understanding throughout our journey, because the path from Egypt, the land of bondage, to the promised land was defined by the pillar moved and they moved.
Yes,
you have to. The pillar moved, then they moved, and so it's a constant, active process for us. Every time the pillar moves in our individual spiritual lives, we have to decide: stay here and just try and make a life here, go back to Egypt, or follow where the pillar is leading. And
well, your career's like that too. Let's say you become an engineer. Things progress in the world, and a mechanical engineer now is doing a lot more than mechanical engineers 100 years ago. I mean, I had an ancestor of mine that designed the first floodgates in Holland many, many years ago. There wasn't a lot of electronics involved because they didn't have electronics in those days. But now, basically, a mechanical engineer has to be an electrical engineer too. And now there's computer systems, and you have to be a computer programmer. The company I work for, Varian, that whole system, all these little programmable chips, programmable EEPROMs, they literally had programs in it to run different parts of the machine. And now their newer machines are completely computer software driven. Things change. So if you don't keep learning, next thing you know, you're not an engineer anymore. You just used to be an engineer. I took all kinds of math in college, but I haven't taken any for years and haven't really used it. And now when someone asks me a question about math, I'm going to have to relearn that, refresh my memory. I took German in high school. Now I'm refreshing all my German. I'm taking German again through the Rosetta Stone. And I'm finding out, my word, I know how to speak German, but my vocabulary's gone. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. Bisschen, a little. But so how does our relationship with Messiah work? It's a continual learning process for how long? Forever. This is what we'll live off forever. 12 fruits for the 12 tribes. Every month a new fruit. Well, that's a new revelation, because the stomach is for food, the food is for stomach, and God is destroying both. That's what Paul tells us. We will know, because Adam and Eve, before they sinned, did not eat food. They ate of the tree of life spiritually. That was it. It's after they sinned, then he tells Adam, now you're going to eat the herb of the field. Now you're going to have to farm. And because of sin, the earth is going to start giving you thorns and stuff. It's an old saying, how to tell the difference between a weed, if something's a weed or not. If you water it and it grows, it's a weed. Every year my herbs start coming back in the spring, and I'm pulling all these weeds out of these pots. Where do these things come from? It's like birds come over and go, plant the weed seeds in there. And that's what Satan does. There's the parable about the plant the field with wheat. In other words, God planted the the whole world with godly people, but Satan also plants his people in the world too. So you have wheat and tares, and they look the same. They sound the same. People look like people, right? You can't just look at someone across the room and say, well, that's a believer or a non-believer. No, you have to wait till the fullness of time. Yes?
I know we got to get to the reading.
Yes.
But this pertains to the reading.
Yes.
When we get to this, maybe you can elaborate. But I think that's what it means when it says the woman in Revelation that is sent out into the wilderness. We've talked about that God hid his people
In the wilderness.
amongst the tares out
Yes.
in the world. I think that's what it means. But when we do,
It's also the Exodus. It's describing the Exodus we're on, because in Ezekiel, he's not talking about the coming out of Egypt. He says, in these days, we are in the wilderness of the peoples, which in Hebrew means countries. Nations is tribes, generally. It has other meanings too, but the primary meaning. So when it says, no matter what country you're in, we are in a spiritual wilderness. And all around us are tares. But at the end, the tares have no fruit. They have empty heads. In fact, they often have a fungus in there that's quite toxic. And the book of Revelation talks when the sickles go in, first the sickle comes in and takes all the tares out and throws it in the fire. And then the sickle goes in deep, gathers the wheat and brings it to the threshing floor where the flesh is removed, the outer husk, and all that's left is the spiritual relationship that's inside. That's what that seed represents. When our bodies are planted in the ground when we die, it comes up a completely different thing. You put a seed in the ground, that's not what comes up. An acorn produces, you don't see a giant acorn growing out of the ground. No, it's an oak tree. Completely different thing. There's all kinds of clues. Metamorphosis, the life change. A caterpillar, it forms a cocoon and it literally liquefies. It becomes a living goo, and out comes a butterfly. Or a papillon de nuit, French for moth. It's a butterfly of the night, depending on what. But and there's all kinds of animals like this, or insects like this. Dragonflies. The nymph actually lives longer than the dragonfly. That's the adult. That's the fruiting body. The insect itself lives in the water sometimes 3 to 5 years.
I don't know how they've done it, but somehow they've demonstrated that the butterfly still remembers what the caterpillar knew. Like they've maintained their memory throughout that metamorphosis.
I think the genetic code is the same too. I'm not sure.
Monarch butterflies. Sandy's gone, but when we lived in Santa Barbara, that's a major route and a stopping spot right near UCSB, University of California in Santa Barbara. There's a place where the monarchs overwinter. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of them. They're just everywhere because they like the eucalyptus trees there. And so they stop in Mexico, they stop in Santa Barbara, there's a couple other places, but it takes over 2 years for this journey, this migration to happen. It's at least 2 generations of monarchs that are on this journey. So there's this genetic memory of this, how to do this. It's amazing. In the hills in I grew up in Fresno, Central Valley, and when we would go hunting, sometimes in the wintertime, one time we found a whole bunch, came upon this little open field, and it was probably, 6 to 8 inches deep, acres and acres of ladybugs, and they were hibernating. And I remember picking them up in my hand, and the warmth from my hand, they would all wake up, crawl on me, and then fall back on the ground and go right back to sleep. So how do these insects remember this? How do they do this? It
always boggles my mind how animals transfer, and I'm sure it happens to us in good ways.
There's genetic memory, yeah.
But genetic memory goes from one adult to child.
Yeah.
That's God doing it.
We're all connected to a central consciousness.
Yes, yeah, that's a great way of saying it, connected to his central consciousness. I know my friend Jeffy talks about somebody will be on his mind, and that day that person will show up or call him. Yeah. My most profound experience with that was I was stationed in the Air Force in England, and we went to the mailbox, and we had our post office boxes. I remember I grabbed the mail, held a letter that was from my dad and I handed it to my wife and said, "My dog's dead." And that's what the letter was about, that my dog was dead.
So that's the tree of life that we're all connected to?
It's the sap.
Everybody's connected to the tree of Satan.
You're right. Yeah. We are branches. Yeshua says, "I'm the tree, I'm the vine, you are the branches. If you abide in me, you will bear much fruit, for without me you can do nothing." That means a branch, which is logical. You can't take a branch and lay it on the ground. It doesn't do anything. But if it's attached to a tree, grafted in, if you've ever done grafting, it's really interesting. There's these layers in the bark, and it's a wedge, and you have to line it up perfectly. Otherwise, the sap won't flow, and the branch will die. So if we reject Messiah, he doesn't just throw us on the ground. He hands that branch over to Satan, and now you're on the satanic tree because we're branches. We're either a vessel of honor or a vessel of dishonor. There's no in between. There's no kind of. It's like for a woman, you're either pregnant or not pregnant. There's no such thing as a little bit pregnant. You're either dead or you're not dead. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like this in the world. It's just one or the other. There's no gray. The world wants to live in the gray. And that's the fight between our flesh and between our relationship with Messiah. We go back and forth. Unfortunately, we go back and forth. But our final choice, we need to maintain that, please, Yeshua, forgive us of our sins. So, in fact, before we get started any further, Lord Yeshua, we do come before you. And we ask you humbly for forgiveness of sins, because we are sinners. There is sin in our lives, known and unknown, and we confess it. Please, Lord Yeshua, save us now. That's why we thank you for everything you've done, everything that's going on in our lives, whether it's punishment, whether it's blessing, whatever it is, because you have a purpose for everything. It's not some random acts. There's no luck. There's no bad luck, good luck. There's no happenstance. Everything is in your control. Everything. That's why we worship you and you alone. We come into your gates with thanksgiving and into your presence with praise. But we also ask for forgiveness of sins first, so we can offer our praise cleanly, as clean as we can be in this state. Now we ask you humbly, Lord Yeshua, according to your own promise, you said you would send of yourself your own Spirit to teach us all things. You are the teacher. It is your word. We are your people. We learn. I know you use people for teaching, but actually the teaching is yours. So are the questions and answers. And we thank you for all this in your holy name, Yeshua. Amen and amen. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, again, we are in Naso. Okay, we have a new, very large mouse pointer for later on, so I'm going to move that off to the side here. Okay, here you can see, counting of the day. Arba'im Tisha, 49. Okay, day 49. That means tomorrow's day 50. Pentecost, if you want to call it that, but it's Shavuot, weeks is what that means. Because there's 7 weeks in the next day. So that's a reminder that tomorrow is the Feast of Weeks, and we will also be here again at noon. And as we remind every week, we are going through the entire Bible, book by book. Right now we're reading in the book of Revelation. In Hebrew it's called Ele Hasadot, which these secrets you would just say in English. This is chapter 12. And the seventh messenger blew. And there were many voices in the heavens that said, the rich ones is understood, because rich in the plural, of this world, all of them are coming after Yeshua, and he will reign from everlasting to everlasting. Now this is kind of an interesting time, because remember, during when Yeshua sets up the millennial kingdom, people are going to start coming up. Believers and unbelievers in obedience to come up, and that if they do that and listen, maybe they become believers, because there's still this time during the millennium where people have to, those that are still alive in that millennial period, still need to choose in their lives. In the Greek, it says, and the seventh messenger trumpeted, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and his anointed one, his Christ. And he will reign forever and ever. This is where we get to, in English, we get the word eons. Yes?
Can you explain for our viewers why it's 11:15 and the other one?
Oh yeah, I forgot. This is a very unusual. This happens more in the book of Revelation. The Hebrew scriptures that the Hebrew translation is taken from, the numbering is very different. And also we get a lot, because none of the stuff was actually numbered. The Bible's not numbered, never was. No chapter designations or anything. So find it even in what we call the Bible, right, in the Old Testament, that there are variations between what, I hate to use this term Christian Bible. It's not a Christian Bible, it's the Bible. But the Bible that the Christians use, some of the numbering, it's the same scriptures, but the numbering is different. And in the book of Revelation, some things that are in chapter 11 and 12, they start at different points. So 12:1 in the Hebrew version of the book of Revelation is actually chapter 11, verse 15 in the Christian Bible. I'll just use that. Okay. The English translation, yeah, the English. And there are variations between Bibles. There really are. They're not all exactly the same. The scriptures are the same, but the numbering varies a little bit. More so in the New Testament, I found with the Hebrew scriptures. There's some Book of Revelation has significant changes. It's still the same verses. They're just in different chapters. So the reason I did it this way with 12:1 and 11:15, so at least you're seeing the same verse, because really the chapter numbers don't matter. So that's why you see 11:15 here. And here we go, 11:2. It's 12:2 is 11:16 in the English translation for Christian Bibles. So I will use the Hebrew designation. So chapter 12, verse 2, and 24 elders who sat upon their thrones before Jehovah fell on their faces and prayed unto Jehovah. So now we're talking kingdom time. 24 elders, remember, each tribe always had 2 witnesses. 12 times 2 is 24, so 24 is a number of witnesses. And in the Greek, it says, and the 24 elders who were seated on their thrones before thee, God, fell down on their faces and worshipped thee, God. 12:3, and they said, we give praise unto you, Lord of hosts, who was and who is and will be. And in the Greek it says, saying, we give thanks unto you, Lord God Almighty, the one who is and the one who was, because you have taken your great power and have begun to reign. Verse 12:4. Now the reason you don't see the other one on here, because there's not enough room on the slide to do both verses. And when the peoples were filled with anger and wrath, your anger came, and also the time to judge the dead, and give reward unto your bondservants, the prophets, and unto the holy ones, and unto those that fear you, unto the small and the great, and to destroy those that destroy the earth. If you read about some of the stuff that this world, the rulers of this world are doing to our world, our globe, people say that we shouldn't drive gasoline cars. They are doing some horrible stuff to the air and to the soils. They've been using sludge, human waste, and forcing people to use that for fertilizer, and all the heavy metals and toxic stuff and that sludge is being put into our soils. Yes, the world is trying to destroy this earth. In the Greek, he says, and the nations. Now remember, ethne and goyim reverse to tribal lines, genetic lines. And the nations were angry, and your wrath has come, and the time for the dead to be judged and give them their rewards. So we're talking end of the millennium and going into the kingdom. And to give reward unto your bondservants, the prophets, and unto the holy ones, and unto the ones who fear your name, the small and the great, and to destroy the ones who destroy the earth. 12:5. And the house of praise of Jehovah was opened in the heavens. Now, I have to remind you, in Hebrew, Shemayim is heavens, but it can also mean the heaven of heavens. So, how do I interpret it? Sometimes I translate it as heaven, sometimes as heavens. It's the context of the sentence. It's also one of these singular superlatives when it's talking about where God lives, because he lives in the heaven of heavens, because there are 3. And the third is always the perfect and eternal. Because remember, Paul talks about, I was caught up to the third heaven. He was in this Tartamah vision. It says, it was so real, I don't know if I was there or not. You weren't there, Paul. Because God says, no one goes there. Except the only one who goes to heaven is he who come down from heaven.
So the second heaven
is the universe. Our first heaven is what we call our atmosphere around this earth, up to the ionosphere where the air gets really, really thin. I mean, the SR-71s, when they fly up there, they have to put hydrogen in the fuel so they can run, because there's nothing to burn the fuel. And then from there to the outer edge of the universe, which we don't know where that is. It's gigantic. Remember, God stretched out the universe. That means there's a whole lot of space outside of it. That's the second heaven. And beyond that, so that's also space and time. That bubble of space and time that we're in. Outside of that, there is no time. That's why God can appear anyway in the past or the present, because he's not bound by time.
So the reason why I asked that is because I know there's scriptures that talks about Satan thrown down.
Yes.
So he has access to the second heaven.
Yes.
But then eventually
he's trapped down here.
To this realm.
Yes.
Our
in this last tribulation period, he knows his time is short when he's cast down here. Now, also when he was cast out of the heavens, the heaven of heavens, when he sinned, because that's really the first sin, he's the author of sin, he also knew his time was short, but now he knows it's like micro short. Instead of 7,000 years, he has, less than 4 years. So he's really angry. And his purpose is that, look, if I can't go into the kingdom, I'm taking everyone with me if I can, because he knows he's going to be destroyed. Remember when Messiah, the two demoniacs, if you read Matthew, what did they say? Have you come before our time? The evil ones, they know their time's coming. So anyway, I'll read 12:5 again. And the house of praise was open in the heavens. Now the house of praise in the heavens is the heaven of heavens here. Now, I'll jump down here to the Greek. You say orano, that's heaven in the singular. There's various forms of the plural depending on the tense. That's also used, heavens, and it's kind of interchangeable. Sometimes it's a superlative and it means the heaven of heavens. So just kind of so this, in this case, this means where God lives, the heavens. But I didn't translate it. I just left it, okay? Because it's kind of, hard to tell. I think this means the heaven of heavens because this is the real house of praise. Was opened in the heavens. Well, do we have a house of praise up in the sky? No, so it has to be in heaven. And the ark of the tables of the covenant, the ark was seen, the ark of the tables of the covenant was seen in the house of prayer, and there were voices and thunders and lightnings and an earthquake and great hail. So do we know that this is at the very end of the tribulation? There's a great earthquake, a tenth of the city fell, so many thousand people die. It's all related. So there's these time markers, event markers all through the book of Revelation. The same verse, it's just 11:19 in the Greek, says, and the temple of God in heaven was opened, and the ark of the covenant appeared in his temple, and there were lightnings and voices and thunders and an earthquake and great hail. These are giant stones coming down on the earth. Now remember, the great hail plague in the time of Egypt, that's when those who believed stayed within God's house, because if you stay in your house in belief, that's God's house, right? That's a Passover. And those who obeyed the word of God and stayed in relationship in his house, the hail didn't harm them. But those who stayed outside and were worldly, the hail killed them. Same thing here. So, and a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. Now in this case, Jacob, Leah, and the 12 tribes. That's what this represents. This is the woman. This is Israel. It's us. Yes, it's related to that. Absolutely, it's related. It says, well, I indeed bow down to you. It's talking about all of Israel, believers in God. They will bow down before God, because Joseph represented Messiah.
The woman, though, is all of Israel.
Yes. This is not the harlot. This is Israel. Yes. Because now what is the role of this woman? We're going to see that. By the way, it said same thing. And I forgot to read this. And one woman in the Hebrew clothed in the sun, that's light, clothed in light, that's what that means. And God's people are clothed in Torah, light. And the moon under her feet, and on her head was a crown of 12 stars. So I forgot to read that in the Hebrew. Same thing it says in Greek, they say the same thing. 12:7, so now that you notice we're already in chapter 12 in the Greek. We're 5 verses behind in the numbering, but the verses are the same. And she was pregnant and cried out, and she was at the point to give birth, and she had much pain because of the birth. I mean, this means so many things, because Messiah gave birth to us. When he died for us, he went through the travail of pain, which is what we're going through in the tribulation. It's our time to be born. And it's hard on a child. You think the mother goes through pain? Absolutely. But that child gets squeezed through a little tube, They come out looking like they just got smushed. fact, my friend the chiropractor, I know he's listening, but he talks about that they get misalignments in their spine from it. It can be very traumatic on children. It can affect their hearing, all kinds of things. And she, being, in the Greek says, and she being pregnant was crying, travailing in birth, and was in torment to give birth. 12:8, 3 in the Greek. And there was another sign, ensign, in the heavens, and I saw one dragon, and he had 7 heads and 10 horns. So now we're talking the 7 kingdoms and the 10 horns. Remember, this is related to the beastly system that's being formed by Satan. And upon his head 7 crowns. In the Greek, he says, and another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great fiery dragon. Red is understood, I guess. I put it in there anyway, because this is dragon, great, fiery. Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his heads were 7 royal headbands.
I got a question about the 7 heads.
Yes.
If I'm loud enough.
Okay.
But the 7 heads, is it kind of like the statue?
Yes, of Daniel.
You know, it's different ages of.
Yes, it's Satan's attempt through various kingdoms of the earth to try to control the whole earth. And there have been many, many forms of this. You know, if you look at, everybody wants to control the world. Genghis Khan wanted to control the world. The Romans did. The United States has been trying. England, they said, the sun never sets on the British Empire. Well, it still doesn't sit, but they don't really do much anymore. The royal family's richer than all get out, and the Queen controls all these countries still. I remember some years ago, they couldn't come up with a budget in Australia, and Elizabeth disbanded the entire government and made them select new people. Pardon? The king, now the king, but now, yeah. I'm talking way back. It was still a queen in those days. And from what I understand about Prince Charles, King Charles, you know, the term might apply. Yes, 7 permutations of countries trying to take over the world. What did Hitler say? In German, they say, ein tausendjahr Reich, 1,000-year millennium empire. It's satanic. They want to set up a false system. You know, Rothschild has set up a false Israel. It's supposed to be called Zion. And the symbol of Israel in the Bible is the menorah. That was David's symbol. It wasn't a fish. That's Dagon. You Christians say it's the fish. No, that's Dagon, the fish god. That's what the Pope wears. He wears a fish hat. You know, the one that just died, Francis, saw him laid, you know, picture of him laid out, looked like a big carp in a coffin. Everything, that whole thing is Dagon, the fish god, high priest. And it's not the Star of Ramphah that is on the Israeli flag. It's so unfortunate. They don't understand. You know, Magen David, it's not the shield of David. It's not. It's the cross is not the symbol. Messiah didn't die on a cross. He died on a pole, a stake. Are these salvation issues? No. The issue is, do you believe in Messiah or not? That's the issue. Do you give your life to Him? Are you trying to be obedient? Are you asking for forgiveness? Are you asking Him to lead your life? Do you start and end your day with prayer? Do you really think about Him? Or do you just, you know, every Sunday or Saturday, some people just show up in church, and as soon as they hit the door, you know, it's off to watch a football game or get drunk or whatever. This isn't a stopover on the resurrection train. Your whole life should be this. 12:9, 4 in the Greek. And his tail, this is Satan, he's represented as a dragon. Yes, there used to be dragons on earth. It's a really interesting study, because there are tales of actual dragon, people fighting dragons, killing dragons so they could live in an area. They had to kill the dragons. Look at the Chinese calendar. There's all these different symbols. Everything's some real being. There's a turtle and a monkey and there's a dragon on there. So they have 11 real ones and 1 false one? No. So Satan is represented as dragon, and 1/3 of the stars, which are the messengers. People say angels, but actually that just means messengers. I don't like to use the term angels because people think of it as women with wings, and they aren't women, and they don't have wings. Other than that, it's dead on. So it's a term. Saying angels gives a meaning, a picture in people's minds, which is not real. So they are called the messengers. We are God's messengers. An evangelist means even as a messenger. So stars represent the messengers in heaven. So his tail took 1/3 of the stars, the messengers from heaven and cast them upon the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, this Israel, who would give birth in order to devour the Yeled HaYeled, the child, that's Messiah, when he was born. Herod tried to kill him, right? Killed him. Go ahead.
Is that event in the creation right after creation, or is that event?
Yes. No, the verse 12:9 is the whole, is from Satan's fall, because remember, he rebelled in heaven. Remember, he said, I will set my throne above the Most High. He says, no, you're getting kicked out of town. And he took a third of the messengers with him. Zechariah tells us a third of mankind will pass through the fire to perfection. So the third of the messengers in the heavenlies that are cast out and they go to destruction are replaced by the third of mankind who are perfected, and we replace that missing third. Just like the 3,000 who died at the golden calf were replaced by the 3,000 when the upper room people spoke in tongues. There's your connection. God works in threes. 333. A third. 666, that's man's number. 0.666, well, that's fleshly. 6 is the number of man. Man was created on the 6th day. Guess what was created on the 3rd day?
Right.
Yeah. And the dragon stood before the woman, so that's Israel, who's about to give birth to devour the Messiah when he was born. Yeah, and they tried to kill him, and Satan tried to kill him the whole time, except on Passover. Right. He can die any other day, before or after. You can't die on Passover, because that's the appointed time, and you knew that's the salvation plan. In the Greek, it says his tail drew a third of the asteron. See, that's where we get asteroids from this. Asteron stars from heaven, and it threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, in order that whenever she gave birth to her child, he could devour it. 12:10. I'll just use the Hebrew numbers here. Yes, go ahead. No, that's all right. It's not an interruption.
He's been died and resurrected. The child that Satan is trying to kill is us.
Yes, because we are about to be born.
Right.
We are going through travail. The earth, all creation groans for the revelation of the sons of God. There you are. That's right, absolutely. And this planet is going to go through travail. If you read about the events that are going to happen, some of them are symbolic, but this world is going to get whacked. So there's going to be spiritual events, but there are going to be huge objects that hit this earth. Basically, most of the people on this earth and most of the living things, all the plant, everything's going to be destroyed. In the last 5 months of total darkness. And if the earth were in complete darkness for more than 5 months, literally with no light, everything would collapse. Without a relationship with Messiah, the light of Torah, we would collapse. And she gave birth unto one son, Ben Echad, who would lead the countries, the peoples, with a rod of iron, punishment, correction, not destruction. Punishment is for correction, to change your behavior. And the child was brought before Jehovah and his throne. He was resurrected and went back to heaven. But he is Jehovah. Yahovah, Yahshua. The root is Yah. They're both Yah. One means Yah, who always was, self-existent Yah, and the other means Yah, who is salvation. The Greek, he says, and she gave birth to a son, a male child. Okay, son, Huion, and Arena, that's male. A son, a male child, of course. Yeah, didn't give birth to an adult. That would be very traumatic on the mother. Who was going to shepherd the nations, the genetic lines, all the people, with an iron rod. And the child was snatched away to God and to his throne. So different descriptions of the same event. Remember what the messenger told the disciples when they were looking up at Mount Olives and Messiah was going up into the heavens, disappearing? He says, why do you stand staring up at the sky, basically? In the same manner that you saw him leave, he will come back, and every eye will see him. Well, that's the 10 days of awe, Yom Teruah, the day of alarm, when the sound of God's voice, the shofar, hits, and the sky opens up, and we see Messiah coming closer and closer for 10 days, our God coming back. Yeah, every eye, because the earth still keeps rotating, every eye will see him. And the woman, and the Greek says, and the woman fled into the wilderness. Oh, it was 12:11. And the woman went into the wilderness, for there was a place prepared for her by Jehovah to sustain her there 1,260 days, which is 3.5 years. The Greek says, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared there by the God, so that they could so that they could feed there for 1,260 days. This is the tribulation, this end period tribulation. And there was made war in the heavens, and the messenger, Michael. Now, I personally believe, I forgot to italicize it, Messiah. I think that's one of Messiah's names. Who is like God? The messenger who is like God. He is God. Because notice there's a fight between Michael and between the dragon. Well, it's not a fight between some head angel, employee. It's God against Satan. Tree of life versus the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's why this is. So Michael, it's a question. Who is like God? I can answer that. God is like God. There is no one else like God. And with his messengers, see, so the head messenger, who's the head messenger? It's God, who made war with the dragon, and the messengers fought with them. And the Greek it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his messengers battled against the dragon and his messengers fought back. But they did not prevail, nor was there at place in the heavens found any. This is the heaven of heavens, okay? Found any more, and they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them any longer in heaven. So in the Greek, it's using the singular form. Go ahead.
So this battle that took place, is that what took place?
This is the third of the angels. This is the battle that's described. Right. This is when Satan sinned. There was a spiritual war. I don't think they had swords.
I'm sure there's still a spiritual war going on.
Yes.
But that's referring to that.
Yeah. So why does it say that the angels, the messengers in heaven, they still have allegiance to God? They look at what's going on with great curiosity. Because they want to see how this plays out. Because God, they trust God, and he's going to be proven to be perfect because he is perfect. So this is what we wonder too. Remember my wife Sandy, she used to ask all the time, why is this happening? Why was there sin? Why was Adam allowed to fall? Says it had to happen, otherwise it wouldn't have happened. And this is because we're witnesses. This is like a giant testing lab. And those that believe in Messiah, even though we mess up and we have good days and bad days, we're headed toward the kingdom in a relationship that we still believe him and we want to go to him. And those that reject him, they want the opposite. That's why they believe in the anti-Messiah instead of Messiah. Anti-Messiah, yeah. Antichrist, anti-anointed one, the unanointed one. Now, he's not only is he a replacement. In other words, Satan says, believe in me. That's what he told Adam and Eve. I'm the God of gods, right? That's what he said. Believe in me. If you do what I do, then you're really God. That guy's pretending. He only knows half the story.
You could ask the same question, like, why did all this have to happen? You could say, well, why did the father of the prodigal son let him leave?
Yeah.
He let him leave so that he could discover that his father had told him the truth.
Yes.
All along. And that his father wasn't trying to keep him from having a good time. He was trying to keep him from harm.
Yes. It's like you tell your child, look both ways before you cross the street. This is because when you're young, I want to go over there. You just go. It says, no, you have to be careful how you do things. Don't touch the fire. And what do? We stick our hand in the fire and we go, it hurts. I told you. That's the way it goes. The whole world's like this. Do you remember geometry when you took it? You had to do the proofs. I remember I spent I spent hours and hours and hours trying to prove that you could trisect an angle with a straight edge and a compass. It can't be done. But I tested it and tested it and tested it and tested it. I didn't trust Pythagoras. Guess what? He knew what he was talking about. But it's interesting. You go through these proofs, all kinds of things. I designed an electronic circuit. I designed a little game panel for the hospital I worked in years and years ago. I had to test it before I gave it to, because they were going to use it, the residents were going to play like a Jeopardy game, Oh no, so we have to hit the button for, Jeopardy. Made a little Jeopardy panel for him. I had to test it. I couldn't just hand it to him and said, good luck, So hope it works for you.
But the other thing that is so beautiful about all of what has been done and will be done here on this earth.
Remember, speak up,
is that unlike Adam, who was ignorant to the nature of good and evil.
He was told about it, but had no experience with it.
Right.
Yeah.
We will be able to be like him, be one with God, but rather
We'll have the
be
evidence.
inoculated
Yes, inoculated.
against the temptation
Absolutely.
of evil.
I believe we'll
have know it as it is.
That's right, because I believe we'll have a hive mind.
Satan's prophecy, or through the serpent,
yes,
when he said, "You shall be like God, knowing both good and evil," he just didn't say the second part.
Yeah.
You will once again be one with God.
Yeah. Well, he was talking about himself, but actually it's a prophecy of those who have a relationship of salvation. We will be like God, knowing good and evil, but we will not, because God knows the difference, but he doesn't participate in it. God created light and darkness, good and evil. He created Satan. He knew he was going to fall. He was created to test the system. The theory is, a real theory is something that you can, it doesn't become a fact or science known until it's tested. So the theory is that God is perfect. And Satan says, no, I'm perfect. And Jehovah said, no, I'm the perfect one. And we've been testing it now for almost 7,000 years, 6,000 plus years. And it goes right to the very end. Now, every possible permutation of sin is going to have been tried out. That's the clue given when Messiah says you're going to have to spend some extra time in Egypt because the iniquity, the sin of the Canaanites is not yet complete. Well, the Canaanites represent the evil world trying to break every possible permutation of sin in every possible way, every permutation. And believe me, the world is desperately trying every form of weirdness going on. It just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. We used to have, the striped, the rainbow flag. Now it's symbols and colors, and they keep trying weirder and weirder stuff. We have men playing women's sports. There's a great joke where a woman tells her grandfather, says, this new government's great. They finally, in the state they were in, they finally made a decision that men can no longer play women's sports. And her grandfather was shocked and looked at her and says, you let women play sports? It's just the generational gap is what that's about. But we are so far. I mean, I'm a child of the 60s. When you didn't lock your car and people left their keys in their car, didn't lock your house. I mean, you just go over to someone's house and walk on in. If they're friends, hey, how you doing? Now it's gated communities and armed guards, and my God, you have to have computer-controlled cars to try to keep people from stealing them, and they still do it. A mousetrap just makes a smarter mouse. But they did not prevail. No, they're not any longer. They were kicked out. So this is the story of the third of the messengers being kicked out. And the dragon was cast out, who is called Satan. So that breaks the code for us. Reveals the code, who destroys and seduces all the world. And he and his messengers were cast upon the earth to dwell there. Also, as a side note, you're going to notice that the Hebrew and the Greek words, I start them off with capital letters. It's not some linguistic requirement. It just makes it easier to see that these are not English words. They stand out more. Sometimes I use lowercase in certain cases, but I explain that when it comes along. In the Greek, he says, and the dragon, the great dragon, rather, was thrown down, the ancient serpent, the one called devil, which means accuser, and Satan, which means adversary or accuser. The one that's not his name, by the way. His name is Azazel, completely removed from God. And the one deceiving the whole inhabited earth being understood, and he was thrown down to the earth, and his messengers were thrown down with him. So this is the story of the battle, spiritual battle. I don't think they were, wrestling or anything. Spiritual. And God says, you're out of town, you're out of town. And I heard a great voice, this is 12:15, in the heaven, or heaven of heavens, that said, now the mighty deeds of our God and his Messiah has become visible. For this one that was an adversary against them all the time is cast out. In the Greek, he says, and I heard a great voice in heaven saying, now the salvation, that's hey here in Greek is, now the salvation in heaven saying, now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his anointed one, his Christ, that means anointed one, his Messiah in Hebrew, have come, because the accuser of our brothers has been thrown down, the one who accuses them before our God day and night. Did you see what Dirk did? He says, yeah, but he asked for forgiveness. That's why you have to keep asking for forgiveness, because we keep sinning, folks, unfortunately. And they overcame how? At him, Satan, through the blood of the Lamb. That's salvation promise. He died for us so that we don't die that eternal death. And through the word of their testimony. No testimony without a test. We have to be tested.
Included in the word of their testimony would be their asking for forgiveness. Right?
Yes. And their statement of belief. The Bible says that you cannot say that Yeshua is God. You can't say that without God's Spirit in you. You can't say it. And I've heard many people say, I just can't say it. I can't believe it. That's right, because you don't have the relationship. And they consider their lives as nothing. That's right, this life is nothing. This is just merely a vehicle we are in to make our decision. It's like getting in a car from point A to point B or somewhere along the place. You have to decide where you're going to go. And there's a fork in the road. That's the decision, by the way, that fork in the road. And once you make that final choice, that's the road you're on.
I think of my time in the womb as nothing.
It's nothing, yeah.
I don't reflect on the good times had in my mama's belly, not once.
Was it Steve Wright said it? You used to sneak out at night? Stephen Wright?
Sounds like that.
Yeah. We used to sneak out at night. Yeah, we don't have much memory, most of us below the age of 5. I left Holland at 4.5. The only thing I remember is the front door and the entryway to my maternal grandparents' house. That's all I remember. I still kind of visualize it when I think about it. That's all I remember. Yeah, and when I went back to Holland with my father years later, when I was stationed in England, it was all brand new. All brand new. It was fun, though. So in the Greek it says, and they conquered through the blood of the Lamb by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives until death. I kind of like reading both because really the translations, they give a different point of view. It's the same thing, but it's like from different side of the different viewing angle, you know. Linguistically. 12:16, and because of this you must rejoice, O heaven, and all in it, and woe unto those that dwell upon the earth and upon the sea, for Satan went down unto you with great burning anger, and he knows that he has little time. And because of this, in the Greek, and because of this, rejoice the heavens and those who live in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and to the sea, for the devil has come down to you having great anger, because he knows that he has little time. 12:17. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, or onto the earth, he pursued after the woman who gave birth. This is now has given birth. This is the time after Messiah. So this time, that it can't be all of space and time. Time is short, because this time, the short time, is after Messiah.
I was thinking that was the last half of the millennial kingdom, because he's thrown down to earth.
Yes, I think that's what it means, but I'm just saying on a logical sense, this proves that when it talks about his time is short, can't be from the time he was cast out of heaven, because this event, this is talking about after Messiah. Now, to me, linguistically, this talks about, in Hebrew, it's called the Acharit Hayamim, the latter days, which in Hebrew, generally, if there's no number attached, the plural is doubled.
It could be both.
Well, I believe a lot of these time charts or time signatures, months, years, and days are different periods of time. Because if you talk about the 1260 days, if you go from the time Messiah returned to heaven, 1260 years later, guess where you are? You're in the Dark Ages. And that's about the time where people started coming out of it. We get into the Age of Enlightenment, which is the journey back to God's path. Because 1260 years, Rome controlled everything. You know, by the 1400s, literally, the Pope decided between Portugal and Spain what they would divided the world among them. You go here, you go there. Just so long as you convert or kill, right? You force them to be Catholics or you kill them. So in the Greek, and when the dragon saw that he had been thrown down to earth, he pursued the woman who had, past tense, given birth to the male child, understood. Well, it's Messiah. So this is the body of Messiah. This is God's people in these last 2,000 years. But there is a specific, there's various, well, the whole 6,000 years of man is also called the tribulation. Because you look at John later on, who are these that he can't number? All these have made it to the great and terrible tribulation. That's the people from Adam to when Messiah comes back.
So it says cast down to earth doesn't necessarily mean that he's restricted to just earth.
No, he's cast down. He's cast
down to this realm.
To me, it means it says down to earth, but what it means to me, he's separated from timelessness and now is forced to remain in the realm of space and time. But there was given unto the woman 2 wings. It'll come back, I promise you. But there was given unto the woman 2 wings like a great eagle. So Messiah is the eagle that lifts us up. And by the way, an eagle, when it teaches its young to fly, it lifts it up and lets it go. And if it is having a hard time, it goes down below and picks it back up again and keeps doing it until it learns to fly. So that's what God does with this. Little by little, step by step, glory by glory, here a little, there a little, higher, 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 until we finally learn to fly, which is at resurrection. So 2 wings like a great eagle, that's our God, to go into the wilderness, the place that Jehovah gave her. Yeah. It's a gift. What does the wilderness do? It separates us from the influence of the world and makes us totally dependent finally on God. We have to turn to them. If you look at the original Exodus, the water came from God and the food came from God and their clothes never wore out. So I always tell people before the Exodus, before this tribulation starts, pick out your favorite clothes and your best pair of shoes. You're going to be wearing them for a while. The place that Jehovah had given to her, it's a gift to sustain at her there, because there we commune with God. Hosea, it says, there we're in the wilderness, that's where we'd be called sons of the living God. The people that went into the promised land on the original Exodus, they went through the wilderness experience. That's where God trained them. And because of our stupidity, we asked for an extra bonus 40 years. Were you? Loco en la cabeza, Espanol, had given her to stay there a time and 2.5 times. That's 3.5 years away from the dragon. And the Greek says, and the 2 wings of the great eagle were given unto the woman in order that she could fly in the wilderness to her place where she is fed there for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. 12:18. And the dragon cast waters from his mouth after the woman like a great sea or mighty river. Yam can mean it's a way like a tertiary, quaternary, 3rd or 4th level meaning of yam can mean great river. So I put both, right, just to be safe. Because a lot of people put mighty river, but I think it means like a great sea. Now, what is water? It can mean it's people, but it can also mean God's word. Yes. Because remember, he gave them the water of life from the rock that sustained them. But it's actually the spiritual water, because all those who come unto me, out of them will come forth rivers, great river of living water. Yes.
Isn't Satan's word trying to kill us now?
Yes, his word.
The whole world right now?
That's the mara, that's the bitter water, remember? But when Messiah died, Satan's bitter water is cast away, is changed, and it becomes Messiah. Once you choose Messiah in your life, it's no longer the bitter water, now it's water that you can drink.
I would say that we're dealing with this river now.
Yes.
Is that like his great flood? Is it
yes.
Spiritual
I think it's a spiritual thing. Now, people talk about, it's a real problem with prophecy. Things that are symbolic sometimes are actually or physical reality, and things that people think are physical things are actually spiritual things. People are sometimes looking, they draw this beast, thinking we're looking for this strange beast. No, a beast is government. Horns are leaders. It's symbolic, but there are actual physical events, and some of them are both. A lot of these plagues that are happening, 1/3 of the trees die. Well, that's people too. The grass, that's the animals, that's the living things on the earth. All the grass died. I mean, this earth is going to be depleted of life. There's not going to be many people make it when Messiah is here. Not going to be many people left. So the dragon, Satan, cast waters from his mouth after the woman like a great sea to silence at her. What is the world doing right now? They just shout at you, and they deny everything that you believe in. Every message you see, every movie, every ad, every billboard, it's all godless stuff. Except for the few people put, you do have a few signs, God's in charge, that kind of stuff. I like the one that, I saw a great one today. There's a, pro-life It's a great one. They just show an outline of a woman. It's a woman just outlined with white, and there's a heartbeat up here and a heartbeat down here. I think it's after 5 days there's a heartbeat. It's real early on.
They not to get on a tangent, but up in the Creation Museum up in Kentucky, they have a really good exhibit that shows an embryo from mitosis all the way through, and it'll change your life if you look at that thing.
Yes, it's amazing. They had a documentary years and years ago that actually showed from conception, and they actually showed the egg and the sperm meeting, and then the zygotes form the first initial divisions, and then becomes differentiation. It's amazing. And little fingers, they respond to sound and light. Yeah, they're people. They're people out there. People pull them out of the womb, chop them up inside the womb. Just And from his mouth, in Greek, the serpent sprouted water like a river after the woman. That's why I put also mighty river here. And I think that's why translators, even in the Greek, they say river, but I believe it's sea. Like a river after the woman, in order that he might cause her to be swept away by a river. Swept away by the word, destroyed by the word. But the woman had deliverance from the ground. We're going to be birthed from the ground too. We're going to be resurrected. There's so many meanings in here. Like the mighty river, for it opened her mouth and swallowed the waters that the dragon cast after her. Greek, and the earth came to the aid of the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up that river that the dragon had spouted out of his mouth. Now, symbolically, when you die, if you have a relationship of salvation with Messiah, remember he says, if the same spirit that is in me, because that's Jehovah in the man Jesus Christ, is in you, when I come and call you, you'll come out. And we come out in a different form. And all that water of the world, all those lies and stuff are gone forever and ever and ever. Wipe out even the memory of Amalek. Not only his word, but also Satan himself. It'll no longer be part of our memory. So I think that's its primary meaning here. And the dragon was filled with anger because of the woman, and he went to make war with the remaining ones of her seed, who work at commandments of Jehovah. Don't be just a believer, a hearer of the word, but a doer. Right? That's what James says, Yaakov, in the New Testament. And believe in the testimony of his Messiah. The Greek, and the dragon was angry at the woman and went away to fight against the rest of her seed. So now you notice Zara, seed, which literally means is sperm. It's also the word for sperm. In the Greek, it's spermatos, his seed, right? Spermatos altes, her seed. It's feminine. I like this, her seed.
Messiah and all those that are attached to him.
Yes, but this is the promise in the garden. His seed and your seed will fight, and he will bruise the heel, and your seed, her seed, will crush his head, Satan's head. This is going all the way back to this. Book of Revelation is just a retelling and an ordering of all the prophecies of the Old Testament. The rabbis call this a stolen book because it's 420 direct quotes out of the Old Testament. The ones who fight against the rest of her seed, her offspring, and the ones who keep the commandments of the God, and who hold to the testimony of Yeshua, of Messiah. And that concludes chapter 12, Greek-wise. So now we will go into our Torah, Haftorah, and Brit Hadashah portions. Okay, Bimidbar, also called Numbers, but in Hebrew it's called in the wilderness, in Midbar wilderness. Chapter 4 through chapter 7. Chapter 7, and by the way, is the longest chapter in the Bible. It has 89 verses, and there's a lot of repetition. If something is repeated over and over and over again, that means it's important. It's not just superfluous. It's not just wordy. And Jehovah spoke to Moses to say, or saying, you can say it either way, Naso et Rosh B'nai Gershon. Take up at the sum, it literally means count the heads of. Let them stand up and count them. Take up the sum of the sons of Gershon, also by the houses of their fathers, by their families, from 30 years old and upward until 50 years, because priesthood, the service of the priest, the working life is 30 to 50. After 50, they become like administrators. From 30 to 50 years old, you shall number at them all who enter into wait on the service to do the work in the tent of meeting. And this is the service of the families of the Gershonites in serving and burdens. Bearing burdens, but burdens. They shall carry at curtains of the Mishkan and at the tent of meeting its covering and the covering of the finely worked leather that is above, and at the screen of the door of the tent of meeting, and at the hangings of the court, and at the screen of the door of the gate of the court, which is by the tabernacle, and around the altar, and that's the outer bronze altar, and their cords, and at all the instruments of their service, and at whatever shall be done with them, therein shall they serve. That's why some of the Levitical groups got carts, because they were allowed to put the stuff on the carts. Remember the Kohathites, they had to carry everything inside the Holy of Holies. The Holy and the Holy of Holies, they carried that stuff. The menorah, table showbread, Ark of the Covenant, incense altar.
David learned the hard way.
Yes, absolutely. Well, actually, Uzi learned the hard way. Yeah. That's an electrical charge you'll never get over, you know. And whatever shall be done with them, therein shall they serve in carrying these things. On the word of Aharon, see, he's the ultimate administrator here, and his sons shall be all the service of the sons of Bnei Gershoni, the sons of the Gershonites, in all their burden and in all their service, and you shall oversee them in assigning at all their burden. This is the service of the families of Bnei Gershoni in the Ohel Moed, tent of meeting, and their charge shall be under the hand of Itamar ben Aharon, the priest. As for Bnei Merari, the sons of Merari, means bitter, right? Meror, bitter herbs, remember? You shall number at them by their families, by the houses of their fathers. From 30 years old and upward to 50 years old shall you number them, everyone who enters upon the service to do at work of the tent of meeting. This is the charge of their burden, according to all their service in the tent of meeting, the boards of the Mishkan and its bars and its pillars and its sockets. So the Gershonites are taking the outer stuff, you know, the curtains around and all those pillars and the altar, all that stuff. Now, here we have Merari. They're going to, the actual structure, the boards of the Mishkan, and its bars and its pillars and its sockets, and the pillars of the court around it, and their sockets and their pins and their cords, with all their instruments and with all their service. And by name you shall appoint it instruments of the charge of the burden. This is the service of the families of Bnei Merari, according to all their service in the tent of meeting, under the hand of Itamar ben Aharon, the Cohen. And Moshe and Aharon and the princes of the congregation numbered at Bnei Kehati by their families and by the houses of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward to 50 years old, everyone who entered into the service for work in the tent of meeting. And those who were numbered of them by their families were 2,750. And these are those who were numbered of the families of Ha-Kehati, the Kohathites, who are all who served in the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting, and whom Moshe, Moses, and Aharon, Aaron, numbered according to the P Yehovah, the spoken word of the mouth, literally of Yehovah, what proceeds out of his mouth is what it means, by Moshe. And those who were numbered of Bnei Gershoni, their families, and by the houses of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward to 50 years old, everyone who entered into the service for the work in the Ohel Moed, those who were numbered of them by their families, by the houses of their fathers, were 2,630. Do you notice something that's going on here? The work was assigned in one order, and the numbering's in reverse. Also, it's the same age group, the same people within a certain age group are numbered, so things are the same, but there's a unique service. So this is important to remember when we get to the activation of the altar and the 12 tribes give gifts. It's all the same gifts, but remember each tribe has its own duty. Each person has a unique service. So it's the same system and the same numbering and the same authority and the same age group, but everyone has a unique service in their life. Those are a number of them by their families. This is, of their houses, their fathers were 2,630. Verse 41, and these are those who were numbered of the families of Bnei, the sons of Gershon. Exiled ones. The joined ones, and in that group are the ones that are exiled. This is our life. We're in exile right now. All who served in the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting, whom Moshe, Moses, and Aharon, Aaron, numbered according to the spoken word of Yehovah, the mouth of Yehovah. Yes.
and the ones that are joined.
Yes. We're going through some stuff. We can go back here. Look at the Kohathites. An assembly of bitter ones and going through bitter things, and we're exiles. But we eventually will be the joined ones. This is why years and years ago, I mean, this is when I was Seventh-day Adventist, many years ago, long time ago in plain English, I started putting the meanings of names and places. It wasn't until years later, actually till recently, I really started understanding. Daryl was really one who pointed this out to me. You really need to read these things sometimes with the meanings of the names. And it really clarifies things. It says when David will rule over it, that's not what it's saying. David's not going to rule over us for all eternity. The beloved will rule over us. Who is that? That's Jehovah. God himself. You better love him. You better be your beloved. He's supposed to be your husband, right? From 30 years old and upward to 50 years old, everyone who entered the tent of service, the work in the tent of meeting, those who were numbered of them by their families, by the houses of their fathers, were 2,630. These are those who were numbered of the families of the sons of Gershon, all who served in the tent of meeting, whom Moses and Aaron numbered according to the spoken word or the mouth of Jehovah. And those who were numbered of the families of the sons of Merari, by their families, by their houses, of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward to 50 years old, everyone entered into the service for the work in the tent of meeting. Those who were numbered of them by their families were 3,200. These are those who were numbered of the families of Bnei Merari, whom Moses and Aaron numbered according to the P Jehovah, the spoken word or mouth of Jehovah by Moses. So you see, from Jehovah to Moses, he's Melchizedek, king and high priest. To Aaron, the Melchizedek, to the Levitical high priest, to the duty priest, to the people. You see the chain of authority being shown here. All those are numbered of Et Halevaim, the joined ones, whom Moses and Aaron and the princes of Israel numbered by their families and by the houses of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward to 50 years old. Everyone entered in to do the service, the work of service, and the work of bearing burdens in the tent of meeting. Those who were numbered of them were 8,580. And now, in the book of Revelation, John is told, who are these that he can't number? These are the joined ones, the ones who made it through the tribulation of space and time and are going to be in God's kingdom. So the ones joined to him now can't be numbered. So we see God is pretty good at multiplication. According to the spoken word, the mouth of Jehovah, they were numbered by Moses, everyone according to his service and according to his burden. See, everyone has their job. Thus they numbered by him, as Jehovah commanded at Moshe. And Jehovah spoke to Moses to say, command at sons of Israel that they put out of the camp every leper. Now, remember, tza'arat, tzara, tzarua, I mean, there are various versions of this word. Doesn't necessarily mean leprosy. But leprosy is one form of this tza'arat. Because remember, there's leprosy of the house, and leprosy of clothes. Well, that's not a bacterial infection, it's fungal. Pardon?
What you say.
It's what you say. Absolutely. Well, it's our sin. No sinners. This is the judgment, folks. Ultimately, this is telling of the judgment. If at resurrection that we have not, we still have, we'd never asked for forgiveness of sins, you can't go into the camp. You'd be weeping and gnashing, cast into outer darkness. And they put out of the camp every leper and everyone who had an issue and whoever is unclean by the dead. We are all unclean right now. We should literally be walking around saying, unclean, unclean, right? But when we confess, for that moment we're clean. And when we're resurrected, this filthy body and these filthy desires of this life will be left in the dirt.
So
we are out of the camp right now.
We are dead people.
We're dead people walking.
Messiah said to Mary,
yes.
Don't touch me.
Yes.
I am not a sinner.
You're a dead person. Right.
I'm going into the Holy of Holies.
Yes.
I
can't have a dead person touching me. We're dead people walking. Just like, remember the Green Mile? Right. Dead man walking. Be quiet, Percy. Yeah, we're dead people walking. We're surrounded by death. There's dead insects all in your houses. We're filthy. If you've ever worked in a hospital, you know what general precautions are. That means anything coming off a person, don't touch. Commanded the sons of Israel, they put all these lepers out. And everyone who is an issue and whoever is unclean by dead. We are not in the camp right now. We have been, as certainly as Satan was cast out, we are also cast out because God left. Remember? In Genesis it says, now if I stay here, they're going to live forever. God had to remove his life force. It's like a giant wind-up clock. Remember the 8-day clocks? Well, this is a 7-day clock. At the end of 7 days, space and time's ending. When that clock stops winding, it's gone. And you better have a relationship with Messiah. You're going where the clock goes. It's not good. So when we're resurrected, then the sin will be cleansed from us. And what did he tell the lepers? Go up to the temple, up to the high priest, that's Messiah, and offer your gift, which is what? Thank you. Remember the one leper that came, and the leper came back and worshipped at his feet? Where are the other 9? They're under judgment. 9 is judgment. The one is restored to oneness with the one who is the oneness. So when we're resurrected, the sin nature will be gone forever. And what will we do? It says in other places, when we offer our first fruits, which is our thanks. We're not offering money in the kingdom. It's thank you. Worship. When we're resurrected, then we can go back into camp. Remember when Miriam sinned?
7 days.
7 days. If her father had but spit in her face, wouldn't she be ashamed 7 days? She's outside of the camp for 7,000 years. That's Israel. At the end of 7,000 years, we get to come back in the camp. So this is us right now. But this also represents judgment. Those who do no longer have the leprosy on them are resurrected in the Adamic form. We are clean and can go back into the camp. Both male and female shall you put out. Outside the camp you shall put them, that they not defile at their camp in the midst of which I dwell. That's right. In God's kingdom, he dwells in the midst of it, and only the clean. He said, no longer will Canaanite be on my temple mount. That's spiritual Canaanites. And the sons of Israel did so, and put at them outside the camp, as Jehovah spoke to Moshe. So did the sons of Israel. And Jehovah spoke to Moses to say, speak to the sons of Israel, when a man or a woman commits any sin that men commit so as to trespass against Jehovah, that soul is guilty. And he shall confess at his sin. Yes, that's why we start our prayer with confessing. And he has done. And he shall make restitution for at his guilt in full, and add to it the 5th part of it, and shall give it to him in respect. That's 20%, by the way. 5th part. In respect of who he has been guilty. But if the man has no kinsman to whom restitution may be made for the guilty, the restitution for guilt which is made to Jehovah shall be for the priest, beside the ram of the atonement by which atonement is made for him. So you thank God for your salvation. You try to undo the damage you've done. And every heave offering of all the holy things of the sons of Israel, which they present to the priest, shall be his. And every holy thing of a man shall be his. Whatever any man gives the priest, it shall be his. And you remember, the priest also tithe of a tithe. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe to say, speak to the sons of Israel and tell them, if the wife of any man goes astray and is unfaithful to him, and a man lies with her carnally, and it is hidden from the eyes of her husband, and is kept secret, and she is defiled, and there is no witness against her, and she is not taken in the act, or no witnesses, right? And that's why Messiah did not condemn the adulteress, because he says, I wasn't a witness, I wasn't there. He knew, but he wasn't a witness.
If she was married, the husband could do the
yes.
thing like that.
Now notice, there's not a test for the jealous wife, because Messiah is our husband, and he is clean, spotless, and holy. There's no test for him. He doesn't need it. He's perfect. Us, on the other hand. So this is what happened at the golden calf. This is the test that was done. And the spirit of jealousy, because remember, one of the names of God is Kana, for Kana Ani, I am jealous.
So God and Moses were the jealous husband in this instance.
Yes.
I mean, Messiah, actually God through Moses.
Yes. He was the one who applied the test. That's Messiah applying the test. The one who draws us out, that's what Moses means, drawn out of the people, the water. And the spirit of jealousy comes on him, and he is jealous of his wife, and she is defiled. Or if the spirit of jealousy comes on him, and he is jealous of his wife, and she is not defiled. That means everybody is going through this test.
You could almost say that that's the end.
Yes, it is. Yes, this is
those
the.
that were evil, those that are unclean remain unclean, those that are righteous.
Yes, that's it. This is the test right here. And the man shall bring his wife to the priest, to Messiah himself. Ultimately, this is the judgment seat. And he shall bring at her offering the 10th part of a. Now, we're not going to bring bushels of wheat. This is the physical representation of a spiritual event in the future. And she shall bring her offering the 10th part of an ephah bushel of barley meal, and he shall pour no oil on it, nor put frankincense on it, for it is a minchat kenaot, a meal offering of jealousy, a minchat zikaron, a meal offering of memorial, bringing iniquity to memory. And the Kohen, the priest, shall bring at her near and set her before Yehovah. And the Kohen shall take holy water in the earthen vessel. This is not the Catholic holy water. This is different. And the Kohen shall take holy water in an earthen vessel, and the dust of that is on the floor of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and the priest shall take and put it in the water. So when they ground up the golden calf, also some of the dirt that was put in there.
Sorry, but if you say that about the Catholic, then what would this holy water be? It's God's Spirit?
Well, clearly this is something that is in the water in the temple. It's holy water. It's not. It's going to be within the temple. Remember, there's water for boiling food. They use water to cleanse the animals. That's not worldly water. It's not like someone brings a pitcher of water in. Now, I know the Catholics are they're saying they're doing the same thing. It's not holy water, and you can't sprinkle and burn up vampires with it, and all this explosive stuff you can do with it. It's just.
I just wanted to
Yes. It's not described anywhere in the holy water. What it is not described.
Other than running water that they said, you put the...
Now, in Solomon's temple, they say that there was a spring there and water came up there that they used continually to wash the animals. So that's
and you got the pool of
temple water.
Which has some sort of spiritual...
Yes, it's a spiritual thing. Yeah, it's not like boiled, sterilized water. It's water for God's purpose. Remember, anything given to God is holy. It's given to Him. So if it's God's purpose, it's holy. I mean, there's people sell vials of water to people, Yeah. For a suggested donation, get away from me. Okay, so the Kohen shall sprinkle, put it in the holy water, this dust from the floor. So when the golden calf, the dust outside of Mount Sinai, well, that's the dust of the tabernacle, because that is a tabernacle at that time, because God resided in the Holy of Holies, the top of the mountain. And they ground up the golden calf and that dust and the water that's just the water from the river there, but that's coming out of the rock, which is Messiah. And the priest shall set at the woman before Jehovah, and let the hair of the head of the woman go loose, and put the meal offering of memorial in her palms, like this, right? Which is the meal offering of jealousy. And the Kohen shall have in his hand the water of bitterness that brings a bitter curse. So I know it's going to describe it, but I'm going to describe it now. The scroll of the curse of these words about this whole test are put on a scroll. The scroll is put in this water, and when it's pulled out, some of that ink, that fresh ink, goes into this water. It must taste pretty bad. And the priest shall cause at her to swear, and shall tell the woman, if no man is laid with that you, and if you have not gone aside to uncleanness, being under your husband, be free from this water of bitterness that brings the bitter curse. Now, ultimately, when we are resurrected in the Adamic form, we can stand before God and says, I'm clean. Now we can't do it. We can't do it now. This flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom. God's flesh and blood profit nothing. That's the Bible. But in resurrection, we will actually be able to see this. Now, the ones who are resurrected in the flesh, they can't say this. But if you have gone astray, still have sin on you, being under your husband, so even the ones who have rejected him are still under God's authority. Remember when the Egyptians in the famine, they went to Pharaoh, which represents Satan, to sustenance. He says, you do what Joseph does, who represents Messiah. And if you are a worldly person, Messiah will assign you a worldly life. But if you have gone astray, being under your husband, if you are defiled, and some man has slept with you, that's Satan's sin, and has lain beside your husband, and the priest shall cause at the woman to swear with the oath of the cursing, and the Kohen shall tell the woman, Jehovah make at you a curse and an oath among your people when Jehovah allows your thigh to fall away, can't stand up anymore, and your body to swell. And this water that brings a bitter curse will go into your bowels, into your guts, right? And make your body swell and your thigh fall away. And the woman shall say, Amen, amen. So be it, so be it. This is true. I agree, I agree. This is everyone in the world bowing. Every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jehovah alone is God. And we agree to be tested by him. It's really what this is. That's what this really means. You are the judge. That's what she's agreeing to. You are the judge, and this is the judgment. This is the scroll of judgment. This is the thing I've agreed to. Everyone's going to agree to this because there is only one God.
So many things that tie into all this, like the rich man and Lazarus that time.
Everything. Well, the whole Bible's the same story.
It's about clean and unclean.
Yes, it's kosher, unkosher. Yeah. It's not really a word. Clean and unclean. Yeah, holy and unholy, godly, satanic. Right. And the priest shall write these curses on a scroll, and he shall blot them out in the water of bitterness. So not only this God's word, his judgment goes into you, and it's either it won't affect you. What does it say in the New Testament? Even Satan's word, they will put poison in your food, but it won't affect you. But if you're not godly, it will affect you. It's the same thing. It's just the opposite side of the coin. God's judgment, you will pass through it if you are godly. Satan tries to kill you, you'll pass through it into the kingdom. It doesn't matter if he kills your body, you'll still go into the kingdom. And he shall make at the woman drink at the water of bitterness that causes the bitter curse, and the water that causes the bitter curse shall enter into her and become bitter. Marah, right? And the priest shall take at minchat kanaot, the meal offering of jealousy, out of the hand of the woman, and shall wave at the meal offering before Jehovah and bring at it to the altar. This is the bronze judgment altar. And the priest shall take a handful of the offering as a memorial of at it, and burn it on the altar, and afterwards shall make at the woman drink at the water. So you can see this is very nonlinear. Basically, this whole ceremony's done, then drinks the water. And then she's either going to stand there and go, hey, that wasn't bad, or... And when he has made her drink at the water, then it shall happen, if she is defiled and has committed a trespass against her husband, that the water that causes the bitter curse will enter into her and become bitter, and her body shall swell, and her thigh shall fall away, and the woman shall be a curse among her people. But if the woman is not defiled, but is clean, then she shall be free and shall conceive seed. This is the Torah of jealousy, when a wife, being under a husband, goes astray and is defiled.
You go all day long
Talking about this.
Torah verses that connected it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the bitter water. The first place they were tested.
First, yes.
Bitter water. Right here, and then Messiah cures the bitter.
Yes. These 10 times you had failed these tests. These 10 tests you failed, right? But now, see, we have the open book test. We should know better. Don't you remember those in school? It's an open book test. Yeah.
That's why you get punished twice.
Twice as much. You know better. Yeah. We're just crazy. Or, when a spirit of jealousy comes on a man and he is jealous of his wife, then he shall set at the woman before Jehovah, and the priest shall execute on her at all these instructions, all of this jealousy, Torah of jealousy, instructions of the jealousy test. And the man shall be free from iniquity, and the woman shall bear at her iniquity. Yeshua is sinless, the man. Remember, when we were resurrected, what will we call God? Is she, my man. My husband, my man. No longer Baal, no longer the satanic false master, false lord, false husband. And Jehovah spoke to Moses to say, now in chapter 6, speak to the sons of Israel and tell them, when either a man or a woman shall make a special vow, the vow of a Nazir, one separated, to separate himself to Jehovah, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and he shall drink no vinegar of wine nor vinegar of fermented drink. Neither shall he drink any juice of grapes, nor eat fresh grapes or dried. All the days of his separation he shall eat nothing that is made of the grapevine, from seeds to the skins. All the days of his vow a separation. There shall have no razor come upon his head until the days are fulfilled in which he separates himself to Jehovah. He shall be holy. He shall let the locks of his head grow long. See, every time I read this verse, I think of the fact, Christian drawings of Messiah, they always show him with long hair. But in actuality, in that period of time where he is, well, now too, God says men shouldn't have long hair. But if you're under a Nazirite vow, and he's under a Nazirite vow, remember at the Last Supper, he says, I will no longer partake anything of the grape. That's a Nazirite vow.
I was thinking about this.
So he comes back with long hair.
Well, if he comes back, though, then the last thing of a Nazirite vow is to shave your head again.
After it's complete. But it's not complete till after he comes, and then he's... It's just I find it very interesting. Because Messiah didn't have long hair, but he has long hair now. It's spiritual.
I would say if he shows up to us sometime between now and when he comes back, he's going to have long hair.
Okay, yeah. All the days that he separates himself to Jehovah, he shall not go near a dead body. He shall not make himself unclean for his Father. Messiah is in heaven. He's not near any dead bodies. I mean, this is all about Messiah. He's the Nazir. He's the Nazir, the separated one.
That's why when he comes back and then rules in the millennial kingdom, when there's still people can't go up to him because
nope, he can't.
They have a buffer.
Yes,
That's the bride.
That's the bride.
They'll get smoked.
This is the tabernacle, the high priest, and the Aaronic family, right? The high priest family, and the Levitical ones are outside. The rest of the Levites don't go in the temple. And then the people interact with the duty Levites or the regular Levites. They don't deal with Aaron directly. He shall not make himself unclean for his father, for his mother, for his brother, for his sister when they die, because his separation to his God is upon his head. All the days of his separation he is holy to Jehovah. And if a man dies very suddenly beside him, and he defiles the head of his separation, then he shall shave his head in the day of his cleansing. On the 7th day he shall shave it. And the 8th day, eternity, right? He shall bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons to the priest at the door of the tent of meeting, and the priest shall offer one for the sin offering and one for the burnt offering, and make atonement for him because he sinned by reason of the dead, and shall make at his head holy that same day. Go ahead.
This also deals with you talked about it earlier. This also deals with you conquer a city.
Yes.
And you want to marry somebody, and they put on new clothes, and you shave their head.
Yes.
So that's us at the end.
Yes.
With shaven head, and new clothes.
Absolutely. And we are given a period of time. Yeah, we are given a period of time to mourn the ones that are lost. From Yom Kippur to the wedding feast, right? There's a 5-day separation. That starts Sukkot when we tabernacle with our God again. That's the time to adjust. It's also, we're born in the Adamic form. We have to adjust to this new life. And then we finally go in with our husband. Because ultimately the Feast of Sukkot is about, once again, tabernacling with our husband. Because he came to tabernacle with us, so at the end we will tabernacle with him. Him and us, now we return and we go into him. Thank you, Sheila. Bunch of new stuff today. And he shall separate to Jehovah at days of his separation, and shall bring a male. Start again. And he shall separate to Jehovah at days of his separation, and shall bring a male lamb a year old for his trespass offering. But the former days shall be void, because the separation was defiled. A restart. When we go into the kingdom, it's a restart. It's a whole new life. And we'll be holy forever. Guess what? We'll never eat grapes. We won't have to eat grapes again. And we won't eat food anymore. All these years of learning how to cook and wasted. This is the Torah of the Nazir, the separated one. When the days of his separation are fulfilled, that he shall be brought to the door of the tent of meeting, and he shall offer at his offering to Jehovah 1 lamb a year old without blemish for a burnt offering, and 1 ewe lamb a year old without blemish for a sin offering, and 1 ram without blemish for the peace offerings. Now you notice now it's the worship offering, the sin offering, and then the peace offering, because now leaving holiness, going back into the world. It's the opposite form. Normally it's a sin offering, burnt offering, and the peace or thank offerings. And a basket of matzot, cakes of fine flour mixed with oil, and thin wafers of matzah, anointed with oil, and their meal offerings and their drink offerings. And the priest shall present them before Jehovah, and shall offer it his sin offering and his burnt offering. And at the ram he shall offer for a sacrifice of peace offerings to Jehovah, with the basket of unleavened breads, literally. And the priest shall offer them and its meal offering and its drink offering. Nesech. So sometimes when all these, the drink, meal, and all these things, I'll put it in Hebrew so you can see what the words are. And HaNazir, And HaNazir, the Nazarite, shall shave his head of his separation at the door of the tent of meeting, and shall take the hair of the head of his separation, and shall put it on the fire which is under the sacrifice of the peace offerings. You ever smelled burning hair?
Yes.
Not good. Not good. And the priest shall take at Hazeroah, the shoulder of the ram. It's also the arm. Zeroah is the whole arm. It's shoulder, but that's everything, that whole leg. Shoulder of the ram that is boiled, and one matzah cake out of the basket, and one matzah wafer, and shall put them upon the palms of the Nazarite, the Nazir, after he has shaved the head of his separation. And at them the priest shall wave for a tenupah, a wave offering before Jehovah. This is holy for the priest, together with the breast that is waved and the thigh that is offered. After that, the Nazir may drink wine. This is the Torah HaNazir, who vows, and his offering to Jehovah for a separation beside that which he is able to get. According to his vow which he vows, so he must do after the Torah of his separation. And Jehovah spoke to Moses to say, or saying, say it either way, speak to Aaron, to his sons, to say, this is how you, the sons of Aaron, no one else, shall bless the sons of Israel. You shall tell them. So this is the one time I can do this, because I'm reading it, but I'm not raising my hands and doing the blesses, but the blessing that the Aaronic ones do. First, I'm going to read it in Hebrew, and then we're going to go through in English, because there's a pattern here. Yivarechecha Yehovah vayishmerecha, Ya'er Yehovah panav elecha v'chunecha, Yisa Yehovah panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Well, the first thing in here, there are 3 Yehovahs. He's the perfect one, and there's 6 yous, and it's masculine singular. That's us. We are the 6. He is the 3. So it's the 3 blessing the 6. And it's done through this Aaronic priesthood, the high priesthood. Right? Anything that says, Jehovah bless you and keep you. Jehovah make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Jehovah Nisa, Yisa. Yisa is the action of Nisa. Yisa, by the way. Jehovah lift you up. We also are part of this victory banner. We are lifted up like Messiah was lifted up, but we are lifted up. He was lifted up and died for us so that we can be lifted up out of the earth and resurrected to eternal life. Jehovah lift up his countenance, but look upon you kindly, upon you, and give you sinlessness, peace, shalom. Remember, Pinchas got the Brit shalom, and the Vav carries this O sound, and it's made long because Messiah was nailed for us. And how did he get that? When he killed Cosby and Zimri, who were actively sinning in the, summary judgment, they were caught in the act. Sexual sin again. Yep. So when sin is killed in our lives, destroyed forever, who brings it to us? It's the Prince of Peace who destroys sin in our lives, removes it from our lives. Hallelujah. No one else can do it. Nothing can cleanse us but the blood of Messiah. And they shall put at name of the sons of Israel, V'ani avarachem, and I will bless them. Hallelujah. Now we come to the act. All these chapters we have read, relating to the altar. This is when the final gift that allows. Remember, it's the carts and everything. This is what the priests we use to carry the tabernacle. This activates from this moment. After this, now everything's activated. Now the type and shadow of this, before we go into this, because it's rather long, is the 12,000 of the 12 tribes for 12 days in the book of Revelation. This is the priesthood of Messiah, and once that is after 12 days, this is activated, and then the final test goes, the final message of warning to the world goes out. Well, this is 12 tribes on their own day giving the same exact gift. So I'm going to read, I know what tribe I'm from, primarily Dan. But just, you know Yehuda, some of you know, some of you don't know, but each of us belong either directly by genetics or certainly spiritually, because remember in the wilderness, when they left Egypt, those who were not specifically Hebrews joined themselves to these tribes, and they became part of that tribe. So, as a reminder, it's the same gift, but it's a unique, every person has a unique service to do. And it came to pass on the day that Moses finished setting up the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and had anointed it, and at sanctified at it, and at all its furnitures, and at the altar, and at all its utensils, had anointed and sanctified them. So see all these olive tables is like highlighters. There's a lot of them here, so it's like lights going off. It's a very important chapter. That the princes of Israel, so this is the leaders, right? The heads of the houses of their fathers offered. These were the princes of the tribes. They are they who were over those who were numbered. And they brought at their offering before Jehovah 6 covered wagons and 12 oxen. Okay, 6 is the number of man, 12 is God's order. Right? 12 months of the year, 12 tribes. A wagon for every 2 of the princes, and for each one an ox. And they presented them before the Mishkan. And Jehovah spoke to Moses to say, accept these from at them, that they may be used in doing it service of the tent of meeting, and you shall give at them to the Levites, to every man according to his service. And Moses took at the wagons and at the oxen and gave them to the Levites. He gave 2 wagons and 4 oxen to the Gershonites, the Bnei Gershon, according to their service. Remember the inner tabernacle part. And at 4 wagons he gave and 8 oxen to the sons of Merari, because they had a heavier burden, more stuff to carry, according to their service under the direction of Itamar, the son of Aaron, the priest. But to the sons of Kahat he gave none, because the service of the holy place belonged to them, and they carried it on their shoulders. Now Korach is a member of the Kahat tribe, and he is a cousin of Moses, because Moses was also from Kahat. And so it was a family fight, close personal fight between those two during the Korah's rebellion. And the princes gave offerings for at Chanukat HaMizbeach. Okay, this is the Hanukkah of, the dedication of the altar. So Hanukkah is not about parties and gifts. It's about rededicating your lives. And the true story of Hanukkah is when they cleansed the temple from all the filth that the pagans or the Greeks had put in there, killing pigs and pagan statues and stuff. They rededicated themselves to God and his temple. They cleansed the temple and rededicated their lives from him. That's really what Hanukkah is about. Now, you can still light your Hanukkah if you want, but just remember, it's not about parties or gifts. It's about rededication. So, the princes gave their offerings for the dedication of the altar, Chanukat HaMizbeach, on the day that it was anointed, and the princes gave at their offerings before the altar. And Yehovah said, which is a form of Jehovah, tents, said to Moshe, they shall offer at their offering each prince on his day. So 12 days this took. By the way, this is where they get the 12 days of Christmas from. And they paganized it. What?
Every year you and I make fun of this.
The first day of Hanukkah, Reuben gave this. Yeah. And they shall offer at their offering each prince on his day for the Chanukat HaMizbeach, the dedication of the altar. And he who offered at his offering on the first day was Nachshon ben Aminadav of the tribe of Yehudah. And now his offering was 1 silver platter, the weight. Yeah. But that's not how it is. We're not making fun of this. 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 430 shekels are understood. 1 silver bowl of 70 shekelim after the shekel of the holy place, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering. 1 golden pan of 10 full of incense. 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering. 1 male goat for a sin offering. So remember, silver is redemption, gold is holiness. That's what those metals represent. We are offering our sinless lives, our perfected lives, really, salvation lives, saved lives, and offer God holiness, not sin. And for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. And this was the offering of Nachshon ben Aminadav. In the second day, Netanel ben Tzuar, prince of Yisachar, gave his offering. He offered at his offering 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of the holy place, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering, 1 golden pan of 10, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, 1 male goat for a sin offering, for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Netanel ben Tzuar. In the third day, Eliav ben Chalon, prince of Bnei Zevulun, his offering, 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of the holy place, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering. Excuse me. Okay, it is on. 1 golden pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, 1 male goat for a sin offering, and for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Eliav ben Chalon. In the fourth day, now you can also say on the fourth day, but this is in this whole day. In the fourth day, Elitzur ben Shedeur, prince of Bnei Reuven, his offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of the whole of HaKodesh, the holy place, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering, 1 golden pan of 10, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, 1 male goat for a sin offering, and the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Elitzur ben Shedeur. In the fifth day, Shemuel ben Suri Shaddai, my rock is the Almighty, the Shaddai, prince of Shimon, his offering, 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of the holy place, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering, 1 golden pan of 10 shekalim, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, 1 male goat for a sin offering, for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Shemuel ben Suri Shaddai. In the sixth day, Elisaph ben Deuel, prince of Gad, J-A, it's actually more God. Careful, because I don't want to say God. It's instead of O. His offering, 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekalim, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of the holy place, both of them full of fine flour, mixed with oil for a meal offering, 1 golden pan of 10 shekalim, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old, for a burnt offering, 1 male goat for a sin offering, and this for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Elisaph ben Deuel. In the seventh day, Elishama ben Amihud, the prince of Bnei Ephraim, his offering was 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekalim, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of the holy place, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering, 1 golden pan of 10 shekalim, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, 1 male goat for a sin offering. And for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Elishama ben Amihud. In the eighth day, Gamliel ben Pedatsur, prince of Bnei Menashe, so these are the 2 sons from Joseph. His offering, remember, because the Levites don't have an offering, so you have to still have 12. So it's Ephraim and Manasseh instead of Joseph. And his offering, 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekalim, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of the holy place, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering, 1 golden pan of 10 shekels, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, and 1 male goat for a sin offering. And for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Gamliel ben Pedatsur. In the ninth day, Avidan ben Gidoni of Bnei Benjamin, the sons of Benjamin, his offering, 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekalim, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of the holy place, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering. 1 golden pan of 10 shekalim full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, 1 male goat for a sin offering, and for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Abidan ben Gidoni. In the 10th day, Achiezer ben Ammishaddai, prince of Bnei Dan, say in English, his offering, 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekalim, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of HaKodesh, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering, 1 golden pan of 10 shekalim full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, 1 male goat for a sin offering. And for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Achiezer ben Ammishaddai. In the 11th day, Pagiel ben Ochran, prince of Bnei Asher, his offering, 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekalim, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of HaKodesh, the holy place, both of them full of fine flour, mixed with oil for a meal offering, 1 golden pan of 10 shekalim, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, 1 male goat for a sin offering. And for peace offering, sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats a year, 5 male goats and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Pagiel ben Ochran. In the 12th day, Achirah ben Enan, prince of Bnei Naphtali, his offering, 1 silver platter, the weight of which was 130 shekalim, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekalim, after the shekel of the holy place, HaKodesh, both of them full of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering. 1 golden pan of 10 shekalim, full of incense, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 male lamb a year old for a burnt offering, and 1 male goat for a sin offering. And for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs a year old. This was the offering of Achirah ben Enan. This was the Hanukat HaMizbeach, the dedication of the altar, in the day when it was anointed from princes of Israel. 12 silver platters, 12 silver bowls, 12 golden pans. 12 is God's order again, 12 tribes, 12 months of the year. Each silver platter 130 shekalim, each bowl 70 shekalim, and all the silver of the vessels 2,400 shekalim, which is an amplification of 24 elders, right? Fully tested, right? After the shekel of the holy place, 12 golden pans full of incense, 10 shekalim apiece. After the shekel of HaKodesh, all the gold of the pans weighed 120 shekalim. So against that tested gold, 10 times 12, 120. All the oxen for the burnt offering, 12 bulls and 12 rams, 12 male lambs a year old, and 12 all a year old, 12, and their meal offering, and the male goats for a sin offering, 12. Regional entry, the 12 is put at the end, so sometimes how's that read? And all the oxen for the sacrifice of peace offerings, 24 bulls, the rams 60. So remember the ram for the sin offering. 24 elders. 6 is 6 times 10. Man has been tested, forgiven. The male goat 60. The male lambs a year old 60. This was the dedication of the altar after it was anointed. And when Moses went into the tent of meeting to speak with Jehovah, he heard the voice speaking to him from above the cover that was on the Ark of the Testimony, and from between the cherubim, it's called the oracle, the Devir, where the voice comes from. That's where the Shekinah is. Well, I've never seen it there, but I've never seen the Ark of the Covenant. And he spoke to him. Hallelujah. So that's said. Now the conversation, now the work begins. Now the actual temple is going.
So it kind of helps make sense of Revelations when it talks, because we're going to read it. I don't know if we're reading it today or tomorrow, but anyhow, it says 12,000 from this tribe, 12,000 from that tribe, 12,000.
Each in its day, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And that activated a physical temple, but God's messengers are his temple on earth. And the voice came from here, right? When Moses went in, the temple spoke. Well, it's God, but it's God's voice in the temple started giving the message out. So when the 12,000, 144,000, 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes are dedicated by God, then his voice goes out through them. This is Messiah also saying, all who come unto me, out of them will come forth rivers of living water, his word. What's the first place they stopped? Elim. 12 tribes, 12 palm trees, 12 springs, and 70 palm trees. That's the nations of the world, the tribal lines after the 3 sons after the flood of Noah.
So really you could say, because we were talking about holy water, so really you could say holy water is God's word.
Yes, ultimately it's God's word. It also represents God's people, because we are drawn. This water was drawn out of the regular water.
We were talking about that river that Satan's spewing out is Satan's word.
Well, you look at that water, it's called Merar, where it's bitter. That's the world, that's us. But once we come into a salvation relationship, our bitter lives will become sweet, because it's now His word in His life. We become His people, because His water, His word is in us. He's in us. So when we drink that water, we're drinking Him. He's coming into us. That's why it says you must eat my flesh and drink my blood. It has nothing to do with transubstantiation like the Catholics do with the host, because that's not real. It's His word, His flesh, and His covenant. We believe in His covenants. That's His blood, because the blood seals all covenants. And that's the wine represents that. It's representational. Okay, our Haftarah portion comes from Judges, Shoftim 13:2 through 25. And there was a certain man of Tzoar, of the family of Hadani, the Danites, whose name was Menoach, and his wife was barren and did not bear. Now we have 2 wives, right? Oh no, this is different. This is different. This is Samson. Okay, so he had. Okay, all through the Bible are miracle births. Yeshua is a miracle birth. Moses is a miracle birth, born late in life. Certainly Isaac, miracle births. Because Moses was saved after he was born. Miracle. So it's always when you see these special births, it's godly. And the Malach Yehovah, the messenger of Yehovah, which is Messiah, Yehovah himself, appeared to the woman and said to her, Behold, you are at bearing and do not bear, and you shall conceive and bear a son. This also represents all of Israel. The barren one who did bear a son, right? And now, please beware, and drink no wine nor strong drink, and do not any unclean thing. For behold, you shall conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head. For Hanar, the lad, shall be a Nazir Elohim, a separated one, right, to Yehovah, for God, from the womb. In the womb, you're already who you are. When the egg and the sperm meet, that's you.
I'm sorry, but these things keep hitting me today.
Okay.
But
I won't hit you, I promise.
We just talked about the Nazirite vow, right?
Yes.
This is about Samson.
Yes.
He violated his Nazirite vow.
And
what happens when you violate your Nazirite vow? You have to restart, get your hair
yes.
reshaven, and then it grows back again.
Yep.
And that's what happened to him.
Yes. And he lost all his strength, his relationship. All the work that he had done prior was now useless because he had broken his Nazirite vow. And then he was actually put in the wilderness in the sense that he was in slavery and the world was abusing him. But in actuality, God was removing him from the wine, women, and song that he was into, right? Blinded him physically so he could see spiritually. And he did. I love that story because it reminds me from what my life was before, that he did more in these last days than he did in his entire life. I spent my first 50 years, it's just a mess. And the woman came and told her husband, Nazir separated one to God from the womb, and he shall begin to save Israel out of the hand of the Philistines, the tunnel diggers. What do we have in Israel right now? The tunnel diggers. It's right there. And Ariel Sharon brought them back. He brought those monsters and put them back in the Gaza. After he told those believing Jews who had said, I'm giving you this Gaza and you'll never leave this land. I used to wear a little armband for a Gush Kati. It's a harvest belt. Still have it in the office. And those people were kicked out of there. Forced to live in tents. We got Katrina and we were forced to live in tents. Because it was Bush, President Bush, who put pressure on Israel to do that. And
never came sooner than they planned.
Yep. And now they have tunnel diggers to this day. And they still have those hostages. Still, they're raping those women and torturing those men. It's just all, I can't imagine what those poor people are going through. Now, they were at some pagan festival. That doesn't matter. What they're doing is wrong, you know. I'm talking about the Arabs. And the woman came and told her husband, saying, An Ish ha-Elohim. The man of God, right? This is Messiah. Remember, it says the messenger of God. Now she says, the Ish ha-Elohim, man of the God of gods, came to me, and his face was like the face of the messenger of God, Malach Elohim, very awesome. And I did not ask him whence he was, neither did he tell me at his name, et Shemo. And he said to me, Behold, you shall conceive and bear a son. Now remember, they'd been married a long time, and I wonder, Manoah's going, yeah, sure, you know. Behold, you shall conceive and bear a son, and now drink no wine, nor strong drink, and eat nothing unclean. For the Na'ar, the lad, shall be a Nazir Elohim, a separated one to God, from the womb to the day of his death. And so that's a promise that if you raise a child up in a godly manner, he will return to it. That's another passage in the Bible. This is Samson's life. Raised up under this vow, fell away from it, but in the end he returned. Because it says, he shall be separated to God from the womb to the day of his death. And Manoah entreated Jehovah, asked him, begged of him, and said, Adonai, Lord, please let the Isha Elohim, whom you did send, come again to us and teach us what we shall do to the lad who shall be born. Actually, he wants to see him.
And every parent who's ever lived said, Amen.
Yes. And Elohim listened to the words of Manoah, and Malach Elohim, notice no Ha-Malach or no Malik Ha. There's no Ha here. It's an individual. It's not a messenger. It's Malach Elohim. Messiah came. God came himself, dressed as Messiah, resurrected Messiah, came unto the woman as she sat in a field, and Manoah, her husband, was not with her. Came again, but the message is to the woman. Listen to your wife. It's a message to us men. Listen to your wives.
Never.
Nah. And that's why we have dog houses. And the woman made haste and ran and told her husband and said, Then behold, Ha'ish, the man, has appeared to me who came to me that day. And Manoah arose and went after his wife and came to the man and said to him, Are you the man Ha'ish? Remember, we will call our God Ishi, my man. See? That's why I put the man in caps, capital, starting at the capital letter, who spoke to the woman, and he said, Ani, I am. I am. Remember? We're looking for a Messiah. Are you him? I am. They fell over backwards. Manoah said, Now let Devarecha, your word, masculine singular, your word happen. What shall be the order of the lad, and what shall we do to him? And Malach Jehovah said to Manoah, Of all that I said to the woman, let her beware. She may not eat of anything that comes of the vine. Okay, now we're getting in more detail. Now we know it's a Nazirite vow. It's already told he'd be a Nazir, but now this is the exact rules. Not eat of anything that comes of the vine, nor let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I command her, let her observe. And Manoah said to Malach Jehovah, I pray you, and that you let us detain, that we may make ready for a kid for you. Make ready a kid for you. And Malach Jehovah said to Manoah, Though you detain me, I will not eat of your bread. And if I'm not going to eat of your word, right? And if you will make ready a burnt offering, you must offer it to Jehovah. For Manoah did not know that he was Malach Jehovah. Didn't know it was Jehovah. He thought he's some messenger from heaven coming down. And Manoah said to Malach Jehovah, What is Shemecha, your name, masculine singular? When Divarecha, your word, happens, we may honor you. And Malach Jehovah said to him, I love this. This is such a beautiful verse. Why do you ask after my name, seeing it is Phili, wonderful? It's actually one of the names of God. A son will be born to us. One of his names is Phili. Wonderful. Wonderful one is that song that we listen to. And Manoah took at the kid and at the meal offering and offered it on the rock to Jehovah. And Malach Jehovah, that's understood, did Phili wondrously. And Manoah and his wife looked on. And it came to pass when the flame went up toward the sky from off the Mizbeach, the altar, that Malach, that reason I put Mizbeach lowercase, it's not God's altar. It's one of the few times I'll use a lowercase. So Jehovah and ascended, and so Malach Jehovah ascended in the flame of the fire, and Manoach and his wife looked on, and they fell on their faces to the ground. And Malach Jehovah did no more appear to Manoach or to his wife. Then Manoach knew that he was Malach Jehovah, and Manoach said to his wife, this is all oneness right here, this last verse. And Manoach said to his wife, we shall surely die because we have seen Elohim. So now you know whenever this term is used, Malach Elohim or Malach Jehovah, that it's Jehovah himself. It's Messiah in the resurrected form. Before he died. But really, he already died before the foundation of the earth was laid. And his wife said to him, if Jehovah were pleased to kill us, would he not have received the burnt offering and the meal offering of our hand, at our hand? And would he would not have shown us at all these things, nor would at this time have told us such things as these. And the woman bore a son and called it Shimshon, Samson, like the sun. And Hanaar grew, and Jehovah blessed him. And the Ruach Jehovah, the Spirit of Jehovah, began to move in him in Manchane Dan, the camp of Dan, between Zoar and Eshtaol.
That whole story of Samson is every story is good, but that one's another one of us.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he
fooling around with job bones, killing people.
He misuses the gifts of God, just plays around with it, and then God says, okay, enough time for playing.
Yeah.
We're going to.
Okay, our Brit Hadashah portions come from 21st chapter of Acts and part of Revelation chapter 7. Acts 21:17 through 26. And when he had come to Jerusalem, the brothers received us gladly. Remember, these last chapters of Acts is Paul's journey as he's headed toward, he's going to head to Rome from here and die in Rome 2 years later. And the day following, Paul, together with us, went into Jacob and all, because he's the head of the Messianic congregation in Jerusalem at this time, and it's Yeshua's brother. Yes, Catholics, Mary had other children. She's not a virgin. And she's dead. She's not in heaven. She's dead.
It would have been an entirely unbiblical thing to call either of them two to be married, but both be entirely abstinent. It would be a disobeying of...
Yes, because you're not supposed to deny your spouse. It says so right there. If you're married, do not deny your spouse's marital rights.
Right.
Even if you, so in other words, if you're mad at your husband and your wife, you don't take it out on them by denying union, because it's actually, if done properly, the union actually joins you again. Yeah.
It would have been an unlawful union.
Yes. Yeah, Catholicism, the system is pagan. There's no Queen of Heaven, none of the stuff.
But she was,
There was a virgin birth.
First, and then the other two
Right, because Messiah came from there's no sex involved. Right. Other than the first Adam.
But Catholics say she never had other children.
That's why I said I point this out.
Not only that, but that she was eternally virgin.
Yeah, she's still virgin to this day, they say.
She never had any other children.
She was eternally virgin. Remember, they call her the Virgin Mary, Queen of Heaven. Well, there is no Queen of Heaven. There's only a King. And Messiah is real clear. The only one who goes up to heaven is he who has come down from heaven. And none of us, other than God himself, have come down from heaven. No person on this earth has come down from heaven. So it's impossible. So when you die, you don't go to heaven because we can't. Where do we go? We go to the grave when we die. And when
brothers, forgive me for asking, James and John, they were not his brothers. And
the disciples not. This is later on. He becomes.
This is his brother James.
Yes, this is brother James. And you have to read other documents to understand this. Yeah, the Messianic congregation, he was the head of it. Because the head disciple in Jerusalem, who is that? Peter. Peter never went to Rome. So when the Catholics say Peter was the first pope, there's only one big problem here. He never went to Rome. Paul went to Rome, and the first pope was Constantine, because he set up the Catholic Church, and that was hundreds of years later. I tell you, everything about Catholicism is a lie. There's not one bit of truth in it.
325 AD, to be exact.
Yeah. Yeah, Peter never went to Rome. So it's, last time I checked, popes live in Rome. So, and when he greeted them, reported each one the things which God had worked among the nations through his ministry. And the ones hearing glorified at the Lord and said to him, "You see, brother, how many tens of thousands are among the Jews of those who have believed, and they are all zealous for the Torah. Yet they have been informed about you that you teach all the Jews who are among the nations, telling them not to circumcise their sons, neither to walk after the customs. What then? The multitude," or in California, the multitudes, "must certainly meet, for they will hear that you have come." This was a trial, by the way. This wasn't some just general, "Hey, how you doing?" Yeah. This was an accusation he had to answer to it. Therefore do what we tell you. We have 4 men who have taken a vow. Now I put Nazirite here because the only kind of vow that goes through a ceremony is a Nazirite vow. So it had to be a Nazirite vow. Couldn't be just some general vow. Now remember, a Nazirite vow is what kind of a commandment? Voluntary. So what Paul is doing, he's going to show them that he keeps the required commandments by showing he even keeps the voluntary ones. Therefore, do what we tell you. We have 4 men who have taken a Nazirite vow. Take them and purify yourself with them. That means he was what? Under a Nazirite vow. Because you can't say, "Hey, I'm going to do this Nazirite vow ceremony." Sorry, you haven't been in one. Take them and purify yourself with them and pay their expenses for them, that they may shave their heads. Then all will know that there is no truth in the things that they have been informed about you, but that you yourself also walk guarding ton nomon, the Torah. So nomos is Torah.
So if there's any question whether it's a Nazirite vow or not, that is answered by the shaving of the head.
Yes. And it's voluntary.
Right.
He's keeping he volunteered to do this, so he's certainly doing the required. But concerning the nations, the ones having believed, we have written giving judgment that they should keep themselves from things offered to idols, from blood, and things strangled, and from fornication. Does that mean they don't keep any Torah? No. If you're going to be in the congregation, this is the minimum. Because people read that and says, that's all we have to do. There's a problem, because after that, then Paul took the men and the next day and purified them and went with them to the sanctuary, declaring the fulfillment of the days of purification of the offering, and until the offering was offered for everyone. Because later on it says, "For is not Moses taught in the sanctuary, the temple, the synagogue," not the temple, in the synagogue, "every Sabbath?" In other words, you come into the congregation, there's this 4 basic minimums, and you'll learn the rest as you go. If someone walks in the door, you don't jump on them and say, "These are the 400 rules, you better keep them today." There's some people still don't wear tzitzit. They're not, God hasn't put that in their lives yet. Is it a commandment? Yeah. I remember Anthony for years didn't. One day he came up to me, Yeshua said, "Wear your tzitzit." That day I made him some, and he was wearing them. And then the cat climbed up his leg. And the next time he was out here with the weed whacker, had to make him some more. But so the first thing, and you don't realize. My cats are used to them now, but the first time, you better wear some leather pants or something. They climb those poles.
Sidetrack, we're talking about that. I went to Gulf Shores, and I went into a petting thing where you could pet lemurs, and the lemurs
playing with, yeah. And to this day, if I'm sitting on the sofa and one of the cats like to sit on me all the time, I very carefully take the tzitzit and kind of lay him off at an angle, because if I move and he sees that thing flick, it's, cats have those great equalizers. That's why the dogs go, "I'm not messing with that thing. He has portable knives with him." Okay, so he did. He paid for 5 Nazirite vows. It's expensive. It's voluntary. So then there's no more question about, is Paul a Torah keeper or not? And the last reading is first 8 verses of chapter 7 of Revelation from the Hebrew. It's translated from the Hebrew. "And after this I saw 4 messengers standing at the 4 corners of the earth and holding back the 4 wind spirit of the earth. And I saw one messenger who came from the rising of the sun from the east, and he had the seal of the living God, and he imposed and cried out with a great voice unto the 4 messengers whom it was given to damage the earth and the sea." Now remember, we were told these were bound before, so these are not These are evil ones. Satan is going to do this destructive work, but it's under God's command, part of God's plan. And he said, do no damage unto the earth, or unto the sea, or unto the earth, unto the tree, until I set a mark upon the bondservant of Jehovah. Or it should be bondservant, sorry. Bondservants of Jehovah. Okay, remember that. You remember that too, would you? 7:3. Thank you. And I heard the number of those who were sealed. It was 144,000 that were sealed of the families of the sons of Israel. From the tribe of Yehudah, 12,000. From the tribe of Reuben, 12,000. From the tribe of Gad, 12,000. From the tribe of Asher, 12,000. From the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000. And from the tribe of Manasseh, 12,000. From the tribe of Shimon, 12,000. From the tribe of Levi, 12,000. And from the tribe of Yisachar, 12,000. Notice Levi's in here, because this is Melchizedek. It's not Levitical. Anybody can be a Melchizedek before you. But when in the division of the land or dedicating of the temple, the Levites were not part of that because they were the ones doing the service. Now there's two tribes that aren't mentioned: Ephraim and Dan. Dan introduced idolatry, and you can remember they took one of the golden calves under Jeroboam and took it to Dan up in the north. And then Ephraim introduced rebellion. That is Jeroboam, right from the tribe of Ephraim. And that's the head of the 10 tribes, and they became rebellious against God. So they're still in the kingdom, but they aren't given the honor of having their names listed. So the tribe of Shimon, 12,000. From the tribe of Levi, 12,000. From the tribe of Yisachar, 12,000. From the tribe of Zebulun, 12,000. And from the tribe of Joseph, 12,000. And from the tribe of Benjamin, 12,000. So you still had 12, but Dan and Ephraim are not listed. And
sacrifices, they gave everything.
Pardon?
Their sacrifices, they gave everything. They gave their lives.
Yes. Yes.
Literally.
They gave everything. These are those who were beheaded. Blood, and there's the one crying out on the altar symbolically. How long, O Lord? I remember Andy says, and the last drop of blood goes in the cup. The last one's killed. That's it. That's it. So we'll do our Hebrew lesson quickly and bless the children.
There's no more abused group of people in that 144,000 and all the different, everybody wants to identify their particular little, I hesitate to call them cult, their little group as being 144,000.
Right. So this is a Vav. Now remember the bars, these horizontal bars, those are A sounds. This is a full note. This is a half note. This is a quarter note. E's like these dots like this, and with a horizontal component, are an E sound. This is a full note. This is a half note. And if it had this shva, these two dots next to this, it would be a quarter note. Our consonants here are Vav, Yod. This is shva, which is a syllable separator. Dalet, Bet, because it has a dagish or a dot in it, and a rounded resh. So here you can see the difference between the Dalet with that kind of curve to it and the rounded resh is the way you remember that. And this is Va. This would be Vai, with that Yod gives you the Vai, Da, Bear. Our root word here is Daber, which is word, literally. This makes it that someone's acting it, doing it, becomes a verbal action, and this is and. So and spoke, or and said, or and spoke. And went ahead there. Oop, wrong way. Disregard that. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. That's right. I haven't done it this way from the computer. I was always standing up there with my little controller. In fact, I should still use the controller. This is Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Now, nice thing about the Hebrew consonants, the name of them tells you the sound, except for the Ain and the Aleph, which are both silent. So this is Ya, Ha, Va, Ha. But here's a very short A. This is an O. The dot above is an O. So Yehovah. There are others are said Yehovah or Yahweh. I mean, it's why you call, not on how you pronounce it. But that's the name of Jehovah. There's an Aleph and a Lamed. So the Aleph is silent. It always only carries a vowel sound. This is a half note E. So this is L. If this were two dots, it would be L. A little longer E. It'd be God in the singular. This is 2 or 4. This is mem, shin. It's a shin because this dot is on the right side instead of, if it were on the left side over here, it'd be a sin. The way to remember that is no sin to be left-handed, so S is be on the left. And a hey, half note on the E, so it's M, O, She, Moshe, Moses. This is Lamed. Now, normally the dot changes the sound of a letter. I'm not sure why a Lamed would be at the beginning. It's not like a double L. I don't know what it means to emphasize it. I just never really looked it up. I guess I should. But this is a Lamed, full note E. The Aleph had its E stolen by the Lamed. But the reason the Aleph is here, because here's your root word. Aleph, Mem, O, Resh, Amor, or Amar, is also to speak or to say. So this is to say or saying. You can also put saying. Literally, to say. And now we'll do the Aaronic blessing, or not the Aaronic blessing, the blessing for the sons and daughters. As soon as I find it. There we go. 5. I'll get the blanket out here. Also known as a talit, which means little tent. But this is a talit gadol, so it's a big little tent. Here. And what says that Paul was a tent maker. I think he made talits.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I never even considered that.
Yeah,
that makes all the sense.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. He said, he was the one to give the covering word of God. So, Lord Yeshua, we come before you, and we ask this blessing not only the sons here of Joshua who are underneath this tent, but also for all of us, all sons and daughters that need this blessing also. For the sons, we say, Yisimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chi Menashe. May Elohim make you as Ephraim and Manasseh. And for the daughters, we say, Yisimech Elohim ke'Sarah Rivka v'Leah. May Elohim make you Sarah, Rivka, and Leah. And Lord Yeshua, for these 2 children, for all your sons and daughters, all of us in the world, please seal us for your purpose and do whatever is necessary in our lives to bring us into this salvation journey to be resurrected in your form, Lord Yeshua, in your spiritual image, and that we will be able to dwell by your blood, the spilling of your blood, will dwell with you forever. And for that we give great thanks, Lord Yeshua. Amen and amen. And that concludes the message for today in the service. Thank you very much for attending. As a reminder, tomorrow is also another service at noon. Is also be on YouTube, and the recording will also be put up later. Have a blessed week.